Be still, my darling. All is well, my darling.
Moss, come by.
Your anxious heart may well so. Oh, it weighs you down deeper than you know. Yeah, it weighs you down deeper than you know.
Greatly appreciate Farms of America. What a great cause. What a great project that those guys have been on for quite some time. Season 1 now complete. If you have not caught the show, you can watch it a few different ways. One being on the Reagan and Massey YouTube channel. You can also watch it over on RFD TV and on the Cowboy Network. So many different ways to enjoy one of our great sponsors and the work being done there to produce just a great series. And I guess ironic, you could say in some regards that the Hawkeyes win the pig, and we're talking about farming. So we know the connection between Iowa and Iowa football and farming, the farming industry. Of course, it runs deep. We are joined today by none other than Matt Kroll, who is with us live from Eastern Iowa. Matt, good to see you once again. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Corey, man. Bacon stays home. Let's go. Love it, dude.
Yeah. And we got on the banner there, Floyd the Piggy stays home. And Boy, it's like, what is it like? I should have written this down as a pretty basic stat. Is it like 7 of the last 8, 9 of the last 10, somewhere
I
in
think
there?
9 out of 10. I think now.
Out of 10, that's nuts. And then on the flip side, just last week we were talking about Nebraska. They haven't beaten Minnesota in like 7 years. So it's crazy.
Odd.
Those are crazy numbers, and we're here to talk about it. Coach Don Patterson will be joining us here very soon. If you're not familiar with the guy on my right, he is former Hawkeye defensive lineman Matt Kroll, former NFL offensive lineman. I love to bring that up as well. If people missed
Both
with the Jets, yeah, you played on both sides of the ball. So by the way, real quick before we get into the 41-3 blowout, we've had a huge turn of events in that BYU Iowa State game. BYU now leading 41-27. So that Iowa defense, it was Iowa State was in control the majority of this game, but BYU has stormed in front, and now they have the ball up 2 scores in the fourth quarter. So it looks like BYU is going to come into Ames, and in spite of getting beat on the ground by 100-plus yards, they are in firm control of that one, and the Cyclones in danger of falling to 5-3. So we'll focus our time majorly on Iowa. And Matt, we have had a few of these in the history of this series, and some in the history of the Kirk era. In fact, I want to say 2008. Am I right in saying your last year? Am I wrong on that?
You always test my memory, Corey. Yes. 08, we won 55-0, I think.
Yeah.
Up there.
Yeah.
And then, we had a couple good ones up there my freshman year there. And then they had a couple good teams in the middle, I think, that were pretty good games. But yeah, we ended the season well with them up in Minneapolis.
And I know different coaching staff, but in a game that has as much emotion as this series does, of course, the history of the series goes back, not just decades, but centuries, really. If you look at it, goes back a long ways, and it's rooted into more than just football. But how do you come into a game like this and channel that emotion and kind of put a beat down on a team that was kind of flying high after a win over Nebraska last week?
I think that's what coach does. I mean, anytime you come into Kinnick, blackout, the guys are ready to go, obviously. And I heard Anger pregame. Pat was like, hey, we just got to jump on them early. And we did exactly that. That first drive was what we needed. Spread the ball, spread the field, ran the ball, threw the ball, and scored a touchdown, finished the drive, actually. And that was awesome. And then you saw the rest. We're up 17-0. And, there's still 8 minutes to play in the first quarter or something like that. So it was pretty impressive, and that's how you kind of shut the energy down is get up on a team quick, and our guys did that.
ZJ brings up Kaden Wetjen, getting him involved early. The chunk play on the first drive of the game that eventually led to the touchdown. Of course, he also had a punt return for a touchdown. And we might as well just address this right away. He is our RTI Threads player of the game. And, of course, you score 41 points and win by 38. You probably have some options here. But talk about getting him the ball early. It's clear Tim Lester has prioritized that. It's something that appears to have been a point of emphasis during that first bye week. And, they've not – it's not like it's been seamless or there have been plays that haven't worked, but it's clear that Iowa is making a concerted effort to get him the football in a variety of ways. And I know you're a former lineman, but talk about what you're seeing right now from a game planning perspective and trying to get your speedster the ball.
Yeah, and I think more often than not, he's going to make a play. Yeah, we've had some plays where he gets tackled for a 1-yard gain or 1-yard loss, but 8 out of 10 plays, that dude is going to make one person miss and get 5 to 7. That little tunnel screen, wide receiver screen they did was a pretty cool setup with him kind of faking the pass in the flat and then coming underneath for that screen. And that was 18 or 19 yards or something like that. So I think, like I said, if you get that dude the ball, I mean, my son said it best on that punt return. He's like, he ran 10 yards like it was 3 yards. Like 3 guys had angles on him and he just booted it up the middle and was away. So that was the dude's got some skills. So keep feeding him the ball and it looks like we're doing that. So that's good to see.
Yeah, it's amazing. Some of the quickest guys in Iowa football history are maybe from parts of the country that you wouldn't expect, speed to come out of. Kaden's a Williamsburg guy and went the JUCO route, ended up back at Iowa, and it took them some time to get involved. We're still not seeing Iowa having a ton of success taking shots down the field. But I will say this, 2 of the last 3 games, Matt, they really haven't had to. I mean, when you get off to these huge leads and you're getting special teams touchdowns, you're getting defensive touchdowns. I mean, you knew when this game was 31-0 at halftime that Iowa was going to be able to sit on it. And that's exactly what they did. Very uneventful second half. That's what you want if you're Iowa. This is not a coaching staff as a whole that's going to run the score up. I will say this. You said a 55-0 in 2008?
I think so. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember what the heck we did. We just fed Sean Green. Probably was a pretty easy game plan. So
yeah, I was going to say he's breaking off 50-yard runs. It makes sense. But yeah, I mean, this game was over by halftime. It was actually over. I would argue it was over at the end of the first quarter, 17-0. 17 is that magic number. Now, it's not insurmountable, but against that Iowa defense in Kinnick. So let's kind of run through some of those early plays. We mentioned the Kaden Wetjen opening play that really got things going for Iowa. He had a big chunk play to Jacob Gill for a first down. Kamari Moulton was feeling it on the ground. The series where the drive was finished off by a Mark Gronowski rushing touchdown. Second offensive drive, Iowa gets the tush-push 4th-and-1 conversion. They finish that drive off with a 34-yard Drew Stevens field goal. He was terrific today, 2 of 2 on field goals. And then the Zach Lutmer pick 6. That felt like the almost nail in the coffin. And you can't believe you're saying that for the first quarter. But and Zach Lutmer's another guy we could have easily made him the player of the game because he's really, I mean, he seems to almost be the leader of this defense. I mean, Xavier had defensive, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week honors last week, but Zach Lutmer's been phenomenal. So just establishing that lead early, it felt to me the game that flipped into my mind. I know this is an easy one to bring up, but 2017 against Ohio State. Now, this is not, Minnesota of 2025 is not Ohio State 2017, but just the way that this thing snowballed, and it felt like in that first half, to what PJ Fleck said during his halftime availability, nothing went right for the Gophers. And that's what that game in 2017 against Ohio State felt like. You get a defensive touchdown first play of from scrimmage. You're running the ball effectively. You're getting, Mark Gronowski hit RVZ on a deep shot in this one. There wasn't much that went wrong from an opponent's perspective. How do you think PJ, it seemed like he was in some ways hopeless?
Man, thank goodness he wasn't the normal PJ. Like, I don't know. I have a hard time stomaching him sometimes. So I love that we got up on early and just his energy wasn't there. And you never should look at your head coach as like the energy source. But yeah, I'm so happy that we jumped on him and he didn't get out to his normal antics. So I think energy is such a big thing. And you mentioned those D-backs like Ed Stringer, Wampka, Lutmer. Like, I love those guys. Hall. I mean, they're physical too. So you saw him tackle, number 6, Lutmer made a couple plays on the outside. We're hitting people, sometimes hitting people maybe a little late, but the ball was in the air. So I don't necessarily agree with that call either late. I'm biased because I'm a defensive guy mostly, but the ball was in the air and he saw it go into the receiver. So he went and hit the receiver. Was he defenseless? Yes, probably in today's game, but I just love that we have some physical guys back there that are flying around and pursuing the ball. And there's always 5 or 6 Hawks around the ball every time. So if this defense plays with that energy, no one, can put up numbers on us. If we fly around like that and we tackle like that, that just makes a huge difference in the game.
I want to come right back to that because I was probably going to wait.
Sorry, I jumped the gun.
We just, I get ripped because I find the negatives, but that play was something I said, man, Iowa was fortunate not to have that. It wasn't, first of all, let's establish it. The flag was not picked up. The targeting aspect of the personal foul was removed, but it was still a personal foul, 15 yards. It was a defenseless player. I think they are fortunate it wasn't targeting. Now, you give me your perspective because I heard people flocking on social media when I said on Twitter after the play, I said it was a foolish play by Cohen. And it wasn't just because it was what happened, but it was the fact that if it had been targeting, they'd lose Stringer first half against Oregon. And they are not real deep at safety.
No, I thought the same thing rather than happen. I'm like, oh, shoot, here we go. Yeah,
so you tell me, you said, I'm a defensive player by trade. You think that he believed that guy was?
I think an argument can be made if you saw the back view of that play where the receivers were about 7 yards apart and that ball was going to the front receiver. Well, Ettringer kind of put his head down, saw the ball released, put his head down and went and hit the receiver that he thought in my mind was the ball was going to. Like, replay that play and watch it. It's interesting. trust me, he hit him in the head and neck area, and yes, he wasn't looking, so that's defenseless in this game. But like, I don't think it's a bonehead play, maybe like you're saying, but I'm not going to disagree with the host either.
You can disagree with me all day long. I will say this. My issue with the play is, I think, primarily the fact that defenseless and it was a high hit.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't helmet, but when you talk about a defenseless player, those are the types of plays I just don't want to see. I'm not a traditionalist that wants to see violence in the sport. So
yeah.
But I understand it's a collision sport. I get that. But I just hate seeing a defenseless guy get hit. And to me, it looked like he launched. And that's always the term that has been used on targeting calls, is a guy launching. And hey, they got it picked up. I don't really care about the 15 yards in hindsight. And he remained in the game. I thought the starters remained in the game a little long tonight, Matt.
How'd I know this was going to get brought up?
I know. Maybe. Well, the reason you knew it was going to get brought up is because you were thinking the same thing.
Well, and we talked this 2 games ago with Gronowski being in there with 8 minutes left or whatever. So I hear you. I hear you. I always hear you. But it's whatever reps we need and what they want them to do.
I just talking to somebody the other day about Caitlin Clark's career, and I know you and your family have follow Caitlin's career. So I just had this conversation with someone the other day about how loved Lisa Bluter is. But one of the things that I could never get over was her leaving Caitlin in late in games. And she was very honest about it. She wanted to see Caitlin get triple doubles and break records, and I don't agree with that, but it's something that I eventually just accepted. This is how it is. So the Kirk thing, like, this is just how it is. He just
You're
does
just
not
accepting it. All right. Accepting it.
I'm gonna bring it up, but I do believe that it's not going to change because like we saw Phil's guys, and I think we see this routinely. We saw Phil's guys sub out. We saw Buffington in pretty early. We saw guys in the defensive line in early. Hey, we even saw Jack Dilser come in for Dunker. I know Stevens got dinged up, so they took him out, brought in Leighton Jones. But it's obvious they just are far less. Kirk is far less comfortable doing that on offense than he is on defense, and that's just it's been that way. You can't convince me that's a Tim Lester decision. Not in a million years do I believe that's Tim's decision. I don't know why. I would love to ask. That's one of the disadvantages of not being there for every press conference, because I would love to just ask. And I get
what's the mindset? Yeah, what's the mindset? Why?
You're up 31 with like 10 minutes to go. Mark has already dealt with injuries. He's the most important player in this team without question. And to Gary Danielson's point, he brought it up. I loved the Gary Danielson point. He brought up how, hey, if Hank Brown makes one accurate slip screen pass against Indiana, they probably win that game.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like the point is you just never know when you're going to need that next guy, especially since they have a different guy. It's not Hank Brown. Now it's Jeremy Hecklinski. Had very little experience. Now it was nice to see Jeremy late get that touchdown run. Hopefully he's ready if his name is called, but I'm sure that'll get brought up later with Don. I know I'm beating a dead horse. It's a broken record. And I know I'll get ripped for it, but there are people that agree with it. So it is what it is. Iowa winning this one 41-3. There's a super chat here from Springtime Alex. Thank you for this. Belt to the butt. We're going to keep it clean here. Darn near perfect game by Iowa. Needs to clean up those stupid penalties on Minnesota's field goal. Also feel like they pulled Mark too late. Thank you. But nitpicking. Oregon has been put on notice. Yeah, I mean, I don't really care to put Oregon on notice.
No, let's not get them hyped up anymore.
Yeah, but hey, they do come to Kinnick. I've been saying this for weeks. You got to feel pretty good going into bye week. Now, I will say this. We're going to celebrate this win today, and the guys should celebrate, I think, tomorrow, right? The 24-hour rule. But then you get a bye week as well. You got to transition. I will say this. As far as Iowa being able to play against Oregon and play effectively, we saw Indiana go out there, look impressive against the Ducks. I know stylistically maybe it's a different type of battle. That's the only thing that makes me nervous. Oregon, I haven't watched a ton of Duck football yet. I'll be sure to hone in on them during the bye week. But Matt, are you afraid of the skill position speed that Iowa has struggled to defend in the past, whether you're talking about the Ohio States of the world, the Stanford's 2015, 2016 Rose Bowl? There's maybe not a ton of examples out there, but sometimes when you go up against the elite guys on the outside, speed-wise, Iowa's defenses have struggled.
Well, it'd be interesting to see what Phil does. Sometimes in our nickel packages, if we have enough speedy guys to get on the field in some of their personnel groups to cover some of that speed and the playmakers that they have. A lot of times we ask our linebackers to do a lot in our scheme, but there's been certain weeks where Phil and Coach Wallace come up with a different personnel package altogether on defense to make up for some of that speed maybe that we're trying to cover. So. Yeah, I'm excited, especially with the bye week. There might be 2 or 3 different personnel groups that we haven't seen with some young guys that showed some talent on the back end. So, that's what you worry about. But I think, especially with an extra few days to prepare for some of the speed and things that they have, I think we'll be fine.
Alex, really appreciate the super chat, the donation, and again, the comment about pulling Mark too late. I don't believe that's nitpicking because. The moment Mark goes down in that situation, the last thing I'll say during this segment with Matt, when Mark goes down in that situation, it will be the biggest topic all week. So you're just playing, you're playing with fire, in my opinion. So anyways, thank you, Alex. Let's go to our Iowa Smokehouse call line. Let's see if we can get our first caller here tapped in. We do have the phone line open as well, 515-635-1601. 515-635-1601. And before we go to our Iowa Smokehouse call line, we want to give a big thank you to Iowa Smokehouse because they're a part of our coverage. As always, be sure you use that code Hawkeyes at iowasmokehouse.com for 15% off your total order. iowasmokehouse.com. Their meat sticks, their jerky, their ketchups, their salsas, their barbecue sauces. It's all great, and it pairs great with your favorite bourbon or brew or whatever you love for game day. It hits differently on game day, certainly. Use that code Hawkeyes for 15% off your order. Get your orders in now. This code will not last forever. Again, iowasmokehouse.com. Get free shipping with any $50 order. And, of course, Brad Van Meter and his team down at State Farm. Brad has been loyal to the show. We appreciate him, and please extend your appreciation by just giving him a call and seeing if he can help you save some money. Totally free to get an auto quote. Whatever type of insurance you're in need of savings, and we need savings wherever we can find it these days. Give Brad and his team a call at 515-256-6480, 515-256-6480, or visit Brad online, bradvanmeter.com. That's Brad Van Meter and his State Farm team in Des Moines. As I say this, BYU picks off Rocco Becht 4-0 on the turnover spread between the Cyclones and the Cougars. Such a strange demise. I mean, I know they're going to be 5-3, and they could rattle off 4 wins, Matt, and end up at 9-3. But very strange situation because I know they lost some players on defense, but like four turnovers is very uncharacteristic for an Iowa.
What were they? How many interceptions?
I believe 2 interceptions. I'd have to confirm that, but I believe I just saw they flashed it up prior to that last pick, and I think they showed 1 pick so far for I believe it's 2 picks. Yeah, I mean, especially at home. But it's a well-coached BYU squad. I think he's what's his face is one of the longer tenured coaches in that league now that they're part of the conference. So Iowa State is almost certainly going to drop to 34 seconds, clock's moving. They're going to drop to 5-3 on the year. So that loss against the Cyclones doesn't look horrible if you're Iowa, but every loss now, it's 3 straight for Iowa State. That doesn't do you any favors. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call line. We got James here with us. James, welcome to the show, sir.
First off, they also had a play. Iowa State also had a play where BYU punted it, and they were blocking a guy, and the Iowa State guy backed into it and kicked it with his foot, and that's how BYU got the ball, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So that's one of their turnovers as well. But
okay.
No, all-around good game for Iowa. They did all aspects of the game. They did all aspects of the game really well. They got a pick 6. They got a punt return for a touchdown. Like they did all aspects of the game. And that's how Kirk usually wants it, and you've seen it happen. And they just kind of controlled it in the second half. Where they're like, "Oh, we got the lead." It was kind of just control. That's how Kirk has always played, right? Whether you agree with it or not, that's how he's always played. But
very rare to be able to say that Iowa's successfully done that in 2 trophy games, where we're not talking about being able to win the game in the fourth quarter. But typically games against Wisconsin, games against Minnesota, games against Nebraska, even games against Iowa State, all those trophy games typically are decided late. And if they're not decided late, traditionally it's been Wisconsin with some lopsided victories. So this is uncharted territory. I know Wisconsin's in a different place right now, Matt. And Minnesota, I don't know what to make of them. They're just a weird team. You know, they went out to Cal. Yeah, they went out to Cal earlier this year. Cal's not very good. They got beat. It was closer than the score would indicate, but they got beat out there by a measly Cal team. They got absolutely destroyed by Ohio State. Not necessarily any shame in that. And then last week, they're as dominant as can be against a Husker team that we thought was at least decent. What do you make of Minnesota right now?
I don't know. I think it's a testament to Coach. I mean, I'll give this back to Coach Ferentz, like just the steadiness of his nature and the attitude, and that carries over your football team. And when you ride with energy, like Coach Fleck does, and all the row you boat and ski miwa and all the inspirational sayings, like, I don't know. And I haven't played for a long time, but sometimes those can kind of, that rah-rah stuff can kind of wear on you, and that just goes to show kind of the play. I mean, you just said it right there with your description of their season, like up and down and emotional, and emotion's part of this game, but there's going to be ups and downs. You got to battle through them. So, and that's what coach has always kind of pushed us to do. So we had the same thing. I mean, when I played with the Jets and Coach Ryan, like, yeah, our first 3 years we were pretty dominant, but then the target gets on your back. And, Coach Ryan was always talking smack about every chance he'd get, and he was the players' coach, and we all loved him. But when you do that 3 or 4 years in a row and have that target on your back, is the bullies or like the arrogant ones that are talking, that comes to get you. So I don't know if that's Minnesota and that's what Coach Fleck is doing, but I just don't like PJ that much. So that's why I maybe saying that. Man,
I will say this, talking about not liking head coaches. I really liked Rex Ryan during that stretch. I know his career has been up and down. He was a fun coach to play for?
Oh, absolutely. You guys saw, if you guys watched the Hard Knocks from many, many moons ago, that was who he was, man. It was a vibrant personality that, was a player's coach, and we loved playing for him. And he was a defensive minded coach, and that was a side of ball that I was mostly on. So, and a D-line coach, that was his history. So yeah, no, he was a great guy to play for.
Real quick, just everybody's aware that game, Iowa State, BYU has gone final. The Cougars come into Jack Trice, win 41-27. So yeah, that one's final. James, anything else?
Can I give a couple? I'm gonna give a couple of props to people. Like
Sure.
First off, number 1/32. We're gonna put the number in italics. KJ Parker, who usually was wearing 32 on some of those plays on special teams, right? And I feel like he was very important in some of those special teams plays. I obviously know Kaden would return that, but that block he had on the punter, some of the blocks he had on some of those returns, I feel like KJ was really well on special teams, whether it's 1 or 32, whatever number you want to call him, obviously. But he was very well, especially on that punt return. He blocked very well and did a lot of those nitty-gritty things that needed to be done.
Yeah, good stuff. You got to give everybody, I mean, how important is it, special teams? I'm guessing, I don't remember back to 2005 and 6, Matt, but you're early. Did you get on the field on special teams first?
No. I was fortunate enough to start in the D-line right away, so I wasn't cool enough to play on special teams. So yeah, or fast enough, probably, to be honest, Corey. It probably wasn't fast enough to play on special teams.
You never even played on field goal line assignment or anything?
No, not really. I mean, you're in there for field goal block, but as far as like punt return, kick return, okay. I did a lot of kick return in the NFL. That was still the wedge days, so yours truly was the middle of the wedge. So yeah, I can put a CTE a little bit to that before that thing was outlawed in the NFL. So,
but you
did that was my special teams career.
You got in on field goal blocks. That counts. That's kind of what I was
it counts.
About. So,
yeah, I couldn't jump very high either, so don't worry.
KJ also almost got the block on the punt as well. He was this close to getting the block on the punt that he shanked because KJ was right there and he had to try to get it around him. The one he kicked like the 45, KJ was right there and he had to try to get it around him, so he kicked a bad kick out of bounds. But also credit to Mark. I know we can kind of say something, I seen after the first run, Corey, your tweet about who needs him to throw passing touchdowns, when Mark got the first rushing touchdown because of that one guy last week or whatever. Was it Tuesday or whatever? When he was like...
one guy. I've heard it from about a million.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Then you got that passing touchdown later.
Yeah, the tweet that went viral from some... I don't want to call him a clown because that's not nice, but I don't understand the concept of criticizing a quarterback because he's got zero passing. And I even battled this with Mark, and Mark's a great friend of mine, but I don't understand the concept of really having any criticism without context here, Matt, of criticizing Mark Ranowski because he's got 8 rushing before the game. He was 7 rushing touchdowns, no pass touchdowns in conference play. that's a weird stat, but it's got to be contextualized. Yeah. And he threw a touchdown tonight through the air, but he also had another rush touchdown. They're worth the same. And when you run the ball, it takes an opportunity away from passing the ball. You want your quarterback in a situation around the goal line. If he can run for the touchdown, you want him to run for the touchdown almost every time, as opposed to put the ball up in the air unless a guy's wide open. So I don't know why that. I think somebody made this comment a couple of days ago that when you get this much controversy, or you're talked about by people outside of the Iowa stratosphere, whether it was Cyclone fans or Nebraska fans or other national people, it probably means you're doing something right. And Iowa is right now. I mean, they're winning ball games. It hasn't always been pretty, but they're winning ball games. So I don't.
A few things. Yeah, a few things. I mean, he's 240 pounds. Like we keep saying 230, probably 240. His legs are like a running back. He always falls forward.
Yep.
If he's 5 yards within the end zone and it's wide open and no one's open, run the ball in. And to your point, he's winning games. Like, how many times have we seen that stat? Is it 56, 57 games this guy's won in Division I football? Like, give me a break. He's winning a lot of games. He's played a lot of football. And, I like it when a QB can go through his first couple reads and no one's open. And, we have a QB now that can get that first down on a third down or score a touchdown. So, yeah, you gotta put some context to it. And if we're winning games, man, I mean, coach will tell you too, it doesn't matter. Just win games, and that's what we're trying to do here, and that's what we're trying to do the rest of the season too. So, and we saw it. He had an open guy in Anderson. We tried to get Anderson the ball. Looked like a little bit more. He's got some speed. He just missed that one by a half yard. So that would have been a touchdown. We're very close. And then Vandersea got that one, obviously, with a great catch and a great throw. So, the opportunity's there, but yeah, let's just score touchdowns and win games, and who gives a crap how pretty or what a stat says.
It's a different discussion to some extent if we're talking about some of the 2021, 2022, 2023 offenses, quarterback performances where you are winning in spite of your offense, not because of it.
Yeah.
Gronowski's just doing it in a different way. And unfortunately, during that stretch, Iowa had very immobile quarterbacks, so that threat was not there. And boy, where would Iowa be right now without his legs? And I don't think, like, he didn't throw the ball particularly well against Penn State. He didn't throw the ball very well against Albany, against Iowa State. He has had a so-so year at best through the air, but he was National Player of the Year in the FCS. Yeah. For a reason, because he's dual threat. And he's also had, I thought he threw the ball really well against Indiana, and I thought he was fine today. I mean, he probably wasn't perfect. He's going to want some balls back, but I thought it was a beautiful throw to Reese Vandersea in the end zone. Matt, what did you see on that play? It was over former Hawkeye John Nestor.
I was going to say, it's also poetic. It was over John Nestor. Like, his first passing touchdown in the Big Ten, I think it's being over a guy who used to play at Iowa kind of is a little bit poetic, but.
Yeah. You want to break down that play, Matt, as a former quarterback?
Yeah, me, a former D lineman, like not a very smart player. No, it's a good throw, and we're waiting for Vandersea to take the top off as we would like to see more of it, that plays that, just a little almost back shoulder to a certain extent where the ball was, and you couldn't have had better coverage, quite honestly. I mean, he was right on him. He got his head around late, but just a great throw and a better catch and a touchdown for us.
And I appreciate BMS here in the chat who says, countdown to Corey being late, complaining about clock management. And by the way, I did tweet this out during the game. The only botched clock management was from CBS. I am not the only one that heard through the loudspeakers that Minnesota had called a timeout at the end of the third. And all of a sudden, CBS goes into their dun, 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 and I'm like, go! We're about to run another play, and sure enough, they have to cut out of a commercial to a field goal going through, and then they spend the next 5 minutes talking about how crazy that was. It's like, no, you just weren't paying attention. And I don't know, how do you feel about PJ kicking that field goal? I know a couple of weeks ago, Coach Patterson was somewhat critical of Luke Fickell for not trying to get rid of that goose egg, but here we hear Gary Danielson tonight kind of criticize Minnesota for settling for a field goal. I don't know what that does, but isn't there a psychiatric? Isn't there a psyche thing there, a psychological thing there, getting rid of that goose egg, Matt?
I would say yes. I really wanted to come into this podcast with another 0 like 2 weeks ago, but yeah, probably. I mean, at some point, you just got to stop the bleeding and get some points on the board. And if there was any momentum to get, try and get it. But, defensive guys, we love goose eggs, and they pretty much had one there tonight. So.
No, one more thing before I get off. I just want to say credit to the backups, on defense, playing well in the fourth quarter and kind of holding it to 3 as well. And that pick by Cam Buffington, I know he's played a little bit this year, but it's good to see him get some run and get that pick. It's big for his confidence. But it's just good to get the win. And my girlfriend's from Minneapolis, so it's always good to have a Hawkeye household because that's the way the household should always be, anyways. So I'll talk to you guys later and enjoy your night.
Thanks, James. Appreciate it, sir. Yeah, and just a score update for people. Another big game. South Carolina had been leading Alabama late, and it's now Alabama 29, SC 22. 11 seconds left. South Carolina desperately trying to get in scoring position here, but they got a 3rd down and 3. Waiting for a spot here, but barring a miracle, they're at their own 16-yard line. Alabama is going to hang on, and there's a sack on 3rd and 3, and that's going to end the game. So that's it. Alabama surviving. Kaden Proctor and the Roll Tide have found a way through a 1-5 Gamecocks team. So there's a lot more parity in this sport this year. It feels like there's just not first of all, there's not the traditional Alabama. It doesn't feel like Georgia's quite as dominant. We don't know yet about Indiana. It feels weird sitting here talking about how dominant Indiana has been, but you could argue they have been the most dominant team in the country if you look at the scoreboard each and every week, Matt. The one exception being the Iowa game.
It's very interesting. Like in this NIL world that we live in, you wouldn't think, with some of the big money behind some of these programs, it would be as close as it is week in and week out with a lot of matchups. So I always find it funny with the Saban McAfee exchange, like earlier about paying players and and did Alabama pay players? I don't know, but now everyone's some sort of payment is being made to everyone legally. It's interesting that that's this way, and I like it. Every game matters, and every game always has. But it just feels like any team 1-5, 1-6 can still knock off a top 10 team. So. It's fun to watch football on Saturdays for sure.
I know this is premature, but will there be a segment of Iowa fans now, Matt, that will start talking about the playoff again because they can see Iowa beating Oregon? Because if you beat Oregon, it's going to be a discussion. Like at that point, then you're like, okay, we can see the finish line. Not to say that they couldn't lose to Nebraska or certainly at USC or even, Michigan State's not very good. That would be a disastrous home loss. But do you foresee fans starting to have those conversations after another dominant win?
I think Hawk fans are always, very hopeful, very hopeful. So, absolutely. Like we said this 2 weeks ago, if that's not your goal, to make the championship, what are we doing? So to make the playoff, it's definitely there, and we'll see in a couple weeks what the heck we do.
Appreciate Amanda reminding everybody to hit that like button. Please hit the thumbs up if you're on YouTube or on Twitter. We are simulcasting on X as well as our Voice of College Football sister channel, the Iowa channel over at the Voice of College Football. And the Alabama game has officially gone final 29-22. The Tide survived. So we've had some turns of the tide, no pun intended, late in a couple of these games, including the Iowa State game and now the Alabama game with the Tide surviving. And it looks like we've got a final as well between Missouri and Vandy. Final there, Vanderbilt 17, Missouri 10. So that's another weird story. How Vandy is even in the conversation for being, I've heard that brought up this week that they may be the best SEC team. I don't buy that. I just don't think they have the horses. We'll see. But, another good win over a solid Mizzou team with Bo Prabula, Gavin Hoffman and company. So, all right. Before we get into our next caller, our next Iowa Smokehouse caller, of course, the reason I want to be sure we hit this because the reason Matt is here, because Matt, you were featured on the Farms of America show, the first ever televised episode of that, episode 1 of season 1, and the series continues. So I guess for people that don't know what your career was, we talked about this a little bit 2 weeks ago, but give us an idea for what the farming integration was like for you at a young age. And once you became an athlete, like a guy who's definitely going to play college sports, like when did that occur? And then did you just totally leave farming internally, or was it like always there kind of in your subconscious, and then after your pro career kind of fizzled out, you returned? What was that like? You talked a little bit on the show.
Yeah, good question. For me, in my childhood, I mean, sports are always a big part of it. I wasn't going to be this, I wasn't this stereotypical doing chores at 4:30 a.m. Like we're not milking cows, like those dairy guys, they go hard, but we had livestock, we did chores. I've got some stories that you wonder if child labor laws would be okay, some of the stuff we did, but typical farm kid. But my parents raised me academics and sports, and the more sports kind of took over my life, they let me kind of go to that path, workouts, conditioning, 4-sport athlete, 3-sport athlete, whatever, towards the end. But it was probably freshman year, in high school, went through that growth spurt, and in sophomore year started varsity, and then was offered after that year and committed for the last couple verbally junior year. So that was kind of the path. Farming, any farm kid's going to tell you it's always in your blood. Obviously one reason I wasn't highly recruited but chose Iowa because it was 20 minutes away from where my family was farming. So obviously accessibility to the games and being right there was definitely a factor. I'm not going to lie, going to Iowa. So Iowa's not the ag school, but at that time, like I mentioned last couple weeks ago, they were really turning the corner in that 2002 season. Obviously, we'll always remember that one with those players and that team that we had. So, no regrets. Went to Iowa, then spent 3.5 years in New York Jet land out there in New Jersey. So, no regrets there. Same team, great opportunity with Coach Ryan. Stuck around there for a while, and then it was time. Got married 2012, the same year. Later the year was kind of the last time I was cut with them. So there was opportunities maybe to go play in Canada, but wife wanted to start a career. We wanted to start a family, so decided to kind of come back to the farm and make a spot for myself and our family and start that journey. So that's been 13 years now. Been farming full time, and you kind of see that on the show. A little bit of that history, and then history of our farm, obviously is portrayed in the show as well. So, it was an awesome experience to be part of Farms of America, and I know they'll let me say they're already, I think, halfway through filming season 2, and I enjoyed watching the other 11 episodes of the first season. I'm excited to see what facets of agriculture they look at and examine this next round. So, excited to see it. That's kind of my story. That's my story of academics, athletics, farming, just kind of the way your life kind of goes, I guess.
I was going to ask you I'm not asking for personal finances, but for people that don't know, like what a guy who you're trying to latch on in the league for a few years, like what kind of a head start on the working world do you get? Because you didn't get that with NIL. That was around back then. So like, did what you make in the NFL during that process give you a little bit of a head start?
I mean, I'll be transparent. I was practice squad 2 years of that. So P squad, I think money then was 88,000 or something, and I'm living in New Jersey. My rent for a hotel room was $2,100 a month. And that was the Jets rate, like discounted rate. So, you do that math pretty quick, and we're not even considering taxes. So there wasn't much head start with those P squad years, but was active for a year, and active money, obviously, even minimum is really good money. I mean, no one's going to tell you that different, but so a little head start, obviously, when you're 22 to 26 years old, it's still a good amount of money that you can set a foundation. And if you're smart, can kind of lead you to the next phase of your life. But the bottom half or bottom 40% of those rosters, man, that are rotating and kind of grinding on practice squad and up and down between active and practice squad, there's still money involved, but at the same time, it's not the money that you hear about in other pro sports or the top 10% of NFL. So, I'm not mad by any stretch of the road, but it was something. But then you got to consider the cost of living and where you're going. It's different than in Green Bay, Wisconsin, to New Jersey, New York area. So got to take that into consideration to be totally honest.
What would you have made in Canada?
I have no idea.
I mean, ballpark, would it have been six figures?
I don't think so. I think QBs and some skill positions get paid that, but I don't think it's 6.
So you're looking to a guy. So even now, you don't think it's 6?
Good question. I don't know. I'm sure we can find that information.
Like, why would you beat the heck out of yourself?
Well, it's a good question.
For 5 figures. I mean, come on.
Love of the game, man. Love of the game. I wish I had a lot of teammates that had a similar situation where they transitioned from D-line to O-line. And NFL Europe was a big part of that. I think back then NFL Europe was, almost used as like a JUCO NFL, and a lot of guys had good experience, keeping that dream alive and playing well enough in NFL Europe that they could come back and play in the NFL for a good career. So unfortunately that wasn't there. And I think guys go up to Canada for the experience. I know Drew Tate, a friend of mine from way back when, he played 7-8 years. And
I was going to bring up Clinton Solomon. I know he was
same thing
for you, but he played quite a while.
I mean, it's a awesome experience, a different part of the world, and you're still playing a kid's game in football. So I don't know, as a lineman though, headbutting other grown men for another 5 or 6 years is what I would have wanted to do up there. But don't regret the decision. And now Farms of America is here, and we're on to the next season, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, check out Farms of America, folks. I mean, I see all these comments in the chat. One being Amanda says she binged Farms of America. She says it's pure gold. So thank you for doing that, Amanda. I think people will thank us when they see that show because it is a great watch. And thank you, Amanda, for being a premium subscriber. Jayhawk says Matt must be our good luck charm. Please be here for the Oregon game. So you are,
man, 2-0. Let's go.
Yeah, like these appearances. So you didn't stop by last week. It almost cost Iowa the win.
Did.
However, they found a way to pull through without you. And now think about this, folks. The Matt Kroll era here, Iowa has outscored their opponents. Let's do the quick man. Carry the one. 75, right? 75-3.
Go. Let's go. I mean, I'll take like a 10-3 victory even versus Oregon. We'll take that for sure.
But those are like in defense of the people who maybe don't show up to a couple of these shows because it's such a trouncing. There isn't as much to break down. Like
that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. Like I don't have any notes in the fourth quarter. You know what my notes are? Why is Mark still in the game?
My note is, will the Fu Manchu continue for the rest of the season, or will he get rid of it?
That was a little odd. I was surprised by that, but hey,
whatever, man.
I think he's spending a lot of time with Dunker and the guys up front. I think that's
you got to be careful with those old linemen. They've got some different ideas for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Bob Hoffman, thank you for being a premium member as well. And he says, Matt, you have a great farm. Loved the special about it. And same thing for Pisgah Gravel Project. Thanks for stopping by, Matt, and for the insight. Much love from the mountains of Western North Carolina, App State territory, but the only black and yellow on this mountain is our Herky Tiger Hawk flag. Cool to hear from folks that are not in the prime area, I guess, if you will. So, and I love this comment from YouTube Sucks. Let's hear it. Playoffs. I'll keep touting that until they're mathematically eliminated. Folks, be sure you shop RTI Threads. They're sponsoring our player of the game as always, but RTI Threads, a proud supporter of so much of what we're doing, what we've been doing, and Hawkeye football currently with deals featuring Aaron Graves, Zach Lutmer, Carson Shire, Jacob Gill. And boy, Zach Lutmer played phenomenal. Jacob Gill was really good. Sometimes doesn't go as noticed because he's not going to be a high volume receiver, but he's involved throughout the game. Carson Shire has been phenomenal. He stayed healthy this year. Knock on wood. He's been great. Aaron Graves, for people that don't know, I've got the Aaron Graves Gravedigger shirt. You can buy yourself one of these as a sweatshirt, so get ready for the colder months. And I'll tout a couple of things. Yes, RTI Threads /NIL, RTIthreads.com/NIL. Also, I'll tout this. Kroll Farms, you guys got some merch over there. We checked that out the other day.
I don't know, a little bit, but got you, I guess. It's the nature of the game.
Absolutely. All right. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call line. We've got Ryan here with us. Ryan, welcome to the show, sir. Good to see you. You're sporting the Tiger Hawk hat.
Yes, sir. Hello, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us, 53. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks, Ryan. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I always see on Highway 1 the Kroll Farms on the way to Iowa City, and think of you all the time when we come back or go back and forth to games. So real quick, funny story. In August, my wife and I were at Kid Rock's bar at the very top in Nashville, and we're watching bands play, and this gentleman walks in with this very attractive lady, and my wife right away said, "Look at that guy. He must be somebody," probably because of the lady, but he smiled and had some perfect veneers. And all of a sudden I noticed 2 separate tables got their picture taken with him. And I was banging my head because I knew who it was, but it just wasn't registering. And then 5 minutes later, it dawned on me it was Rex Ryan.
Oh, gosh. There you go.
Is Ryan okay? All right, interesting.
Who would have been your coach back in the
Good story.
day?
Yeah, sexy Rexy, man.
Rexy, absolutely.
Why was he?
And of course, I texted Bob Hoffman's son about it, and he said to me, "Did he have perfect veneers?" Mm-hmm. And I'm like, "Yep, it's absolutely him."
Real quick, Ryan, why was he in Nashville? Is he on the Titans staff?
No, it was in early August. He was just there vacationing.
Oh,
he was just hanging out.
Where is he? Is he coaching right now, Matt?
He does the CBS pregame, I think.
He still drops in, I think, on one of the broadcasts.
We have a hard time telling the difference between him and his brother, right? Like,
really?
Yes.
His brother's got the long hair, right?
He's got long hair and the facial hair. Usually Rex is always clean shaven, but I can see it. I can see it.
So as far as today goes, it can't be any better. Last week I was on and I predicted a double digit. I predicted 29-16. I feel like I need to write Kirk an apology letter because he really exceeded everyone's expectations with this one. The team was ready. I just wish the offense was always that good. Oh my goodness, it was just amazing. And I had my doubts about this year, to be quite honest with you. And if you would have told me we would have just barely lost to Indiana, and Gronowski getting hurt probably had more to do with our loss than anything. I just wish we got to play Ames College like mid-season versus second game of the year, because I know we would beat them today. And even though we're 6-2 right now, we are not that far from 8-0. We're really not. So I'm feeling pretty confident that we can give Oregon some difficulty.
Well, real quick, I'll tell you right now, buddy boy, Oregon they're right. This is a close game, Oregon-Wisconsin. We're 2/3 of the way through the first quarter, and Wisconsin's still it's going to be a punt back to the Badgers. So I think Oregon's now they may come out there and score 50 in the second half, right? But we have seen Oregon kind of be not Oregon a couple of times. Like they can beat you 53-4, or they can play like they did against Indiana. Indiana's really good, but to your credit, Ryan, or not to your credit, but to your point, Iowa did hold Indiana in check. Iowa's the only team that has done that.
Absolutely.
Indiana, I think they've been more dominant than Ohio State. I think if you look at the numbers, there has not been a more impressive team on paper than Indiana. And it pains me to say that because there are some insufferable people on that side of the ledge. But they have been as dominant as they come. We'll see if it continues.
Absolutely. And, Matt, you know better than anybody that some of these schools that are not have not played at Kinnick yet are probably going to get a rude awakening. It is not a fun place for the opposing team to play whatsoever. So I have a pretty good feeling. You get 2 weeks to prepare for these guys. You get the injuries to heal up a little bit, and I'll tell you what. I'm personally hoping for, as somebody who has been critical in the past that we don't throw enough and we're a little too one-dimensional. This is definitely one game where I would love to see Kurt just ugly it up and come out with like a 16-14 win, maybe on a field goal late, kind of like 2016 Michigan when they were third in the country. What do you guys think? What do you guys have for Oregon early on?
You're not going to be giving the score prediction, Ryan, but yeah,
like Big E said, you played with Big E, right?
Etor?
Yeah, Etor Ewan.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hawks
I didn't think I was
playing
going to play a snap. Can you imagine seeing his recruiting picture and his biceps were 22 inches and the dude squats like 700 pounds and was playing the same position that I was? I'm like, I'm never going to play. I'm never going to play. But yeah, he's quite the personality, man. I love that guy.
Well, he's former WWE champion, so
there you go. No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, like I said, I was hoping like a 10-3 victory versus Oregon, and then we're gonna see what happens. But you hear that in NFL locker rooms. You hear from other guys that played in Kinnick. Even all these Big Ten coaches know that Kinnick is, a super, super tough place to play, and gives them something else to prepare for during the week. I mean, they've got to work on that sound count. They've got to work on crowd noise. So, it's a big deal, man. And I love the Hawk fans when they get loud, and especially as a defensive guy, like that's a special moment in every game, those third downs and stopping them on third down. So hopefully we get a lot of them, hopefully get some turnovers, and we'll keep sprinkling in these special team touchdowns with Speedy Wetjen, and we'll be good.
I swear he might be Tim DeWhite's child.
Something like that.
Something like that. Hey, man, thanks for joining. And in 2 weeks, let's celebrate. Let's do this.
Appreciate the call, sir, as always. A lot of happy people in the chat. Jen, thank you for being a premium member. Sam Corbin, same thing. VMS, absolutely. James, thank you for being here. I love this username, Corn and Cattle. What a bit. I mean, we got Matt Kroll here and a username Corn and Cattle and a cowboy hat in the bio. So
we've got John Deere logos on the field now too. So we're everything, man. Iowa might be the ag school. We got John Deere on the field in 2 different spots, and
I guess so.
A&F, man, we are the ag school. What are we talking about?
We got to get Brandon Myers on this show.
He would like to. I think, where is he? He's still down in Florida, I think.
After I'll out myself on this. I had the wrong photo. I had Brandon Myers in a photo, and you alerted it to me. And I in my defense, when you Googled your name, Iowa, it brought up Brandon Myers as like one of the first pictures. And I'm like, I remember when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, well, he slimmed down a lot.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah. Oh no,
thanks. No, I'm still chunky. I appreciate that. I'm still chunky, Corey.
And
you didn't choose a 300-pound old lineman. You chose a tight end, which
that's true.
Decent looking guy. So yeah, I'll take it.
Can I also say this, that some of your lineman cohorts are hard to recognize when they slim down.
Mm-hmm.
Noah Shannon. I don't know that he's still on the staff, but he was for a while. As soon as the dude graduated from Iowa, I guess, his NFL, I don't even know what happened with him, NFL prospects, but man, he gets skinny and it's almost hard to recognize him. Sam Brinks, same thing. He's on the staff. He just looks like a normal dude. So credit to the Iowa, conditioning program. But
Jan is the same way. You got a future Hall of Famer that weighs 225 pounds now, so he went the right way too. We don't want to get bigger, that's for sure.
Okay, Michael, thank you for being a premium subscriber as well. Let me make sure. I had a couple of things that I wanted to hit before we let you slide, Matt. Let's see. Well, first of all, I know this was on our bottom ticker, so we've been talking about that. I wanted to ask you about beer. Are you a beer drinker?
Me?
Yeah.
Just here and there. No, I'm more of a, if I'm relaxing, I'm more of a whiskey guy, yes. But I'll dabble in some beer. I have to with Big Grove being 2 miles away, you know, and the sponsor. I mean, I have to. Yeah. I have to do that. But
I got a good friend of mine who he was just talking about. I saw the game on CBS was sponsored by Modelo. He's a big Modelo guy. What he does is he puts a little bit of bourbon in his beer.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever done that before.
I haven't, but to each his own.
Yeah. Whatever. So I'm going to have to try that. I don't know that it would go well with IPAs, but I'll have to try the Modelo bourbon combination. So
we beat Oregon a couple weeks. I'll try some Modelo and
there you go. Celebratory Modelo. Are you going to do this on camera is the question.
I don't know. I got young kids. I can't be showing them that dad does those type of things.
Why is daddy drinking a toxic combination of whiskey and Modelo
on the internet?
Yeah. Well, Big Grove Brewery is the official craft brewery of the Hawkeyes. And I was just at Big Grove in Iowa City here a couple of weeks ago. And we'll be at another Big Grove, TBA. So, they've got their locations in Iowa City, Des Moines, Solon, Cedar Rapids, now Omaha open. Great things in the pipeline. You can visit all the locations, check out what they have to offer. Their tap room, their food is great. BigGrove.com, www.biggrove.com to check out what they have. But yeah, just head over to one of the Eastern Iowa Big Groves. If you're on that side of the state, if you're in Iowa, go to Central Iowa, go to Des Moines. If you're in the Council Bluffs, Omaha area, the new one's open in Omaha. So again, Big Grove Brewery, official craft brewery of the Hawkeyes and of this show from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Wisconsin advances the chains there to their own 25-yard line. New set of downs as we approach the end of the first quarter, 0-0 between the Badgers and the Ducks. So I know that it's first quarter, but you expect a game like that to be over in the first 10 minutes, and it's not. So that game being played in Eugene. Matt, before we let you slide, do you have time for another call from Trenton?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Trenton, I was caller. Trenton, why are you sporting UNC stuff, Trenton?
Well, I can't hear Corey at all. I don't know what's going on. I haven't been able to hear him the whole time.
Well, can you hear me now?
The only person I can hear is Matt.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Okay. Can you?
No.
Trenton, reload, reset, exit, and
Matt, you're going to have to translate.
He wants to reload and reset. Well, Corey, what do you want to? Trenton, what do you want to ask?
Here, tell him to just leave and then come back. Can you tell him to do that? He can still see you, Matt. Tell him to leave and come back.
Can he now? I think he left.
No, I took him.
Oh, gotcha. He wants you to come. Trenton, come off and reload. See if it helps the audio here.
I told Matt before we started the show, I'm not gonna rip on the internet provider, but a certain internet provider who will remain nameless, people can probably figure out who it is. They are having issues, and I reported the issues to. I almost said the provider to this company today. They were not able to get it resolved. Hopefully in the next couple of days. So I told Matt, I'm running off a hotspot right now. Full transparency. I told him, hey, you may be hosting for a time. And so that's your test.
I just failed. My second podcast ever, and I can't manage the show here. So help me.
For some reason, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna kick. For some reason, he was still in the queue. I just kicked him out of the queue. So hopefully he comes back, and we'll be able to get him before we let Matt slide. Joey Bruner, thank you, Joey. Part of the Farms of America campaign up at Media Stash in the state of Wisconsin. Big Hawkeye fan Joey is. He says, great show as always. Corey loves seeing the great Matt Kroll on the show. I'd like to hear a prediction for the Badger game. I'm assuming he's talking about Wisconsin-Oregon.
I assume, yes.
Well, I've been given away at 0-0 here early, and Wisconsin's another first down for the Badgers. They're now at the they're the 2nd and 10, I guess now, but they're at the Wisconsin 31. But do you care to predict what you see happening here for the next?
And this is at Oregon,
Eugene. Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. You love the Badgers to get one just so they feel good, but I don't really care either. So 17-6. Wow. Oregon will win.
That will inspire some Hawkeye fans if Wisconsin holds Oregon's offense to 17.
Okay, 17-6.
I mean, that tells you just exactly in line with what people thought prior. That tells you that Iowa does legitimately have a shot. I mean, Indiana scored a bunch. I know they're different matchups, but Indiana has scored a bunch of points against everyone else, and they struggled to score points against Iowa. And yes, you hit that late screenplay, or you just don't give up that early pick off a deflection that ended up in 6 for the Hoosiers. That game ends up possibly being a win. And yeah, the caller earlier that brought up the 2 losses, you can't go back in time. Just ask Matt. I mean, I brought up the 2008 game or the 2008 season, 4 losses by a combined 12 points. I'm sure you don't, wake up Nicole in the middle of the night and say, I'm thinking about 2008. But I could see it like that is
Nightmare.
one you look back at. I could see these guys looking back this year. To me, that's got to be a sense of motivation. Hey, we got 2 losses, and we regret both of them, but let's make those losses not matter, and that you just got to take one game at a time, right?
Still opportunity. There's still opportunity. Yeah, it was a goal to always play in a Rose Bowl, and that would have been a pretty good year to get there. But those early losses kind of hurt us, and couldn't win an 8 straight at the end. Definitely helped, but I needed the ball to bounce or make a couple different plays. And I said on the last podcast, I mean, the difference between a 9, 10, 11 win season and 6, 7 wins is 4 or 5 plays, and we can see that already in this. Midway through this season. A couple tip balls versus Iowa State, and then that early pick. The way our offense is normally geared, that's a tough thing to overcome. So, but even like this, talking game management, the second half of this game, we weren't just running outside zones and just trying to grind it away and win the game. I mean, Lester was still opening up, I think, and throwing and running some different schemes, run wise too. So I like it. I mean, it just keeps people guessing, and you can see Mark at the line of scrimmage killing the play quite a bit too. So they're giving Mark more power, I feel like, to make some of these checks at the line, and you can see the audio when he's kill. He's switching plays, and then he said run it back a couple times, so they went back to first place. So that's encouraging too. If you can have a leader and a QB do that, I mean, that's gonna put us in the right play to make the positive yards that we need. So I like it. I think continue to do those things on offense, and our defense is always going to be what it is. And I love our special teams. So yeah, I'm excited just as everybody else.
And special teams seems to have really cleaned things up. Now, they had the block punt return for a touchdown last week. Block field goal return for a touchdown, but there really wasn't anything as far as gaffes tonight. Field goal unit looked pretty seamless. We're not talking about laces and, snaps and holds when the kick goes through. So I can't really say that, but the kicks went through. And then Reese Aiken was fine. He's not Torrey Taylor. He is not Torrey Taylor, but he's a good punter, and he's still got time to mature. And obviously, Kaden Wetjen, phenomenal. Joey, thank you again for your support in multiple ways, including that donation. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. I see Doug is saying, hey, I want to talk to Matt. So let's see if we can get Trenton back in here. Trenton, can you hear me now?
I sure can, Corey. Yep.
Good.
Hope
Good
it
deal.
works.
Thanks for hanging tight.
Yep. Nope. Thanks, Corey, for doing what you do. Hey, Matt, longtime fan, man. Yeah, those years were really fun. But here's what I'll say about tonight's game. That was a statement. That wasn't just a win. And, I mean, you can say Penn State's the biggest win in Iowa history or not history, but recent past, since Iowa beat them in 21. Tonight's win means more than that. This was a pretty good goddamn Minnesota football team, and Iowa embarrassed the shit out of them. Like, this Iowa team, look at the defense. They're top 10 in every statistical category except for turnovers and sacks, which fine, because where it matters is total yards, and you don't give shit up to nobody. Listen, fellas, I'm gonna tell you right now, and Corey, I'll be done after this. This is all I got to say, and this is the pessimist me this week. So here's what I say. You beat Oregon, you go to USC, somehow you win that game. Iowa's in the playoff, man. You're not losing to Nebraska, and you're not losing to Michigan State at home after what happened last year. So I don't know. Go Hawks, man. Let's go.
Thank you, Trent. Appreciate the call. Now, the only quip I would have for Trenton is I don't know when you say darn good Minnesota team.
Were they feeling good about themselves? They're 5-2.
Trenton,
They were feeling good.
They were feeling good, but Trenton, yeah. I would debate you a little bit because I don't know that
I don't, Corey, because here's my thing. They just beat a top 25 team. Iowa hasn't done that in 11 tries.
Wait a minute, real quick. Nebraska was ranked last week. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they were 25.
Yep.
Not lying. He's not lying.
He's not lying. Yeah. Yeah. So, I got to see more. Now we'll see. This is going to be interesting because Minnesota's got a pretty favorable schedule remaining, and regardless of what I think, the Minnesota's got a great chance of being 8-3 because I think they'll probably beat Wisconsin, they'll probably beat Northwestern, they'll probably beat Michigan State. They're going to probably go 8-3 even with this loss. That's assuming they lose to Oregon, which they probably will, just like Wisconsin probably will lose to Oregon. And as I say, that big gain for Oregon, but it's still 0-0 as we approach the end of the first quarter. So, but anyways, thank you, Trenton. Appreciate you being here. Credit to Iowa. Kudos all around, without question. And yeah, the people are excited, and understandably so. It's going to be a tall task going out to LA and beating the Trojans, but it is what it is. Not saying it's not possible, but it's going to be a tall task. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call line. Doug wanted to talk to Matt specifically. Doug, thanks for hanging around.
So you want to go get a snack now, Matt?
Let's go get an effing snack. I ate a lot of snacks, man. I was 315 pounds at my heaviest, so I was listening to Coach. I was eating my snacks late at night too. So
that was one of the best Hard Knocks that there was. So you were in there when he said that, then, right?
Oh, out of every so as a team, you stay in a hotel the night before, and that was the way he ended every hype up speech the night before was, "Let's go get an effing snack." And that's what we went and got a snack. So it's always been that way. Even in college, you had your 9:30 snack after your meetings, and you just go to bed, and that's what it is. We eat a lot.
Didn't you get into it in one of the Hard Knocks episodes? Like,
he's one of my better friends. So Matt Slauson, a Nebraska grad, we came in the same class. It was Sanchez and him were the only draft picks. He was a 6th-round draft pick. And it's camp, and we were buds then. It's just D-line versus O-line, and he held me one more time, and I didn't like it, and we came to blows, and still friends since 12, 15 years later. So. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. I don't fight much.
I'm like, but there's a Hawkeye fighting somebody. There's a Hawkeye. I know who Matt Kroll is.
I think I won too. We'll find the footage sometime.
Wasn't there also, and maybe I'm thinking of a different team. Was it Brandon Marshall that was involved with a Jets locker room incident a few years later? Am I wrong on that?
He was there. He was there. I don't know what incident.
Okay.
Maybe I'm talking about.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different incident.
We got in trouble. We got in trouble for a lot of things.
I thought there was somebody that broke somebody's teeth, or there was I don't know, man. Maybe it's a different franchise. I'm getting things confused. Ryan Fitzpatrick. Did he play for the Jets for a while?
Yeah, after me though, I think.
Yeah, he played
forever.
Ryan
was so funny. He was in a movie with Adam Sandler that's hilarious. That's My Boy. I don't know if you've seen that. He's just he's hilarious in this movie. He's like talking about how much he loves Tom Brady in this movie. It's really weird and it's just funny. But the 55-0 game was the last game at the Metrodome for the Gophers, and I remember that made national news for some other reasons. But there's some people. But anyway, it made
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, we haven't been back up. We went there in 02, 4, 6, and 8, but because it was like Kinnick North. It was nice to go to the Metrodome. Now they moved the game to the middle of the year, and it's a little bit harder to get to. And I've missed the Metrodome, which I'm probably the only person that can say that. But we usually won when we went up to the Metrodome,
Mm-hmm.
My question is the question because I asked this about the cash, linebacker, defensive back, what's it, Zach? Ever since I asked about him, he seems to be doing really well. How do you think the defensive backs are doing? And I was really surprised because I know that Xavier has had a lot of critics. Maybe talk a little bit about the defensive backs and what you're seeing. They started getting some picks. We were talking about turnovers, and in those first few games, they didn't get many turnovers. Even those last few turnovers were hits and, D linemen getting turnovers. What have you noticed about the improvement of the defensive backfield, Matt, and what can they improve on?
Thanks, Doug.
Gotcha. Asking a D lineman D back questions, but no, I think you run through some of those names: Wamka, Ettringer, Hall, Lutmer, a couple more guys that have got in there and made some plays. Maybe core, we're not that deep behind those guys, but those 5 or 6 that play a lot of quality snaps. So, I guess I said earlier in the show, like the physicality those guys are playing with is great. And if we can come downhill and tackle, that's a big deal. I think Minnesota, I heard some stat before the game, they're missing like 10 tackles a game, which just can't happen and really doesn't happen ever with Iowa defense. But we continue to tackle like that, we'll be good. And then, just a couple of those, on the pick, just for instance, tonight with Lutmer, running that zone, him peeling back and making that pick. And then Shire was in coverage first at tight end or running back, I think, coming down on the wheel route. And he was right on him too. So I think that's encouraging. Obviously guys can improve on, tons of stuff. But I think the ball skills of those guys were portraying this game were good. And can we keep up with a little more speed as we come down the pipe here in the season? We hope so. But I think those 5 or 6 guys are playing well. And like I said, time again, like I love the physicality they're playing with and tackling. So keep it up.
Dennis T says Matt's farm is awesome. Borg Warner, farmers are the best. Michelle, thanks for all you do for farming. So definitely check out Farms of America. And maybe our last OS for Hawks, Vincent, you're in the queue. Please shoot me a DM in the private chat on StreamYard if you specifically wanted to ask Matt a question. I know last time you were on here, Matt, we missed a bunch of people that had questions for you in the chat. So I wanted to try to honor those people if at all possible. But this might be our last caller for Matt, and then we'll let you slide because you've given us more time than we deserve. So we thank you for that. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Coach Don Patterson and special guest Matt Kroll. Who's on the line?
Hey, Corey. How you doing?
Good. Who's this?
This is Hank Jones.
Hey, Hank. How are you?
Not bad. Hey, I have a question. This is kind of weird. Talking about it with a friend of mine, and we've been talking about Gronowski. Is he accurate, or is he just a runner and all that stuff? And his numbers from his previous stop obviously don't lie. 10,000 plus yards and all that stuff. My question is, you think if he had been at Iowa earlier, that he'd be a different quarterback in the system now than he is? Would he be throwing more? Would he be less of a runner, or would they been pretty much using him the same way that they are now?
Well, yeah, that's a great question, and it's certainly up for opinion debate, Matt. I'm going to probably answer this question in a way you will not. My opinion is that he would not be the quarterback that he is right now, not even close, and that is because of my opinion of Brian Ferentz as a quarterback's coach. I don't believe he would have gotten the development that he got at South Dakota State without question.
Take Brian off the table. Corey, take Brian off the table in this sense. I think a lot of the stuff that when people talk about he overthrew or he underthrew, that a lot of it is timing, that he just hasn't had the time, the time in the system. And that's what I'm wondering. Would he have had more time to work with these guys? Would it be different?
Well, but you, Hank, you realize when you ask that question, you're talking about him having played theoretically for 2 years in the Brian system versus a totally different system with Tim.
Okay. I don't want to say question withdrawn, but I totally get your point on that.
Okay, Matt, so. I don't want to just dismiss.
Well, I think even if he would have had spring ball, we would have been a little different early on. I mean, you could see the first couple of games, missing some balls long and just continuity with his receivers and, less time with his receivers makes a difference. Spring ball is a really important piece of any college program. And then, him just recouping all summer, he didn't have a chance to throw with any of these guys. So we're not speaking schematically as far as systems go, as far as offense, but just being with those guys and being with those receivers and running backs, everybody, you missed 6 months of that, regardless of what he did the 4 years prior, throwing for 10,000 yards and running and doing everything. And I think Lester's just doing what makes sense. I mean, I love these running plays with them, and if those are our red zone plays, so be it. And if we're scoring, so be it. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't know how to answer that either, Corey, with, a different system. Would it be a different QB? I mean, he chose Iowa to come here half because of Lester and Lester's scheme, and he won an NFL scheme. And like I just said 10 minutes ago, he's starting to do that with some of our, play action passes, him reading some of these defensive sets and checking run plays at the line. That's a lot of things you do at the pro level. So I think that's, one reason why he chose this. And I don't think we can speculate if he would have been a different QB or not. We know he can win. We know he can play, and he can do things with his legs, and he's got a good arm. He throws a good ball. So we'll continue to use him like that, I think.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for the call, sir. Yeah, good question. We talking about systems. It's just not, to me, and the average football watcher, including myself, at times you're like, okay, what's different here? But there's significant differences with what we're seeing schematically, right? Mm-hmm. Matt, just run first. We're not seeing maybe quite as much pre-snap motion as I thought we'd see in year 2. But I'm talking more from a developmental standpoint.
Yeah,
there's just things that I think in the previous offensive staff would have been different. I did think it was interesting today. These are the things I just noticed during a broadcast, not being there in person. And I credited Gary Danielson for his take on the quarterback situation and backup quarterback and all that. There was a point in the game today where Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson were talking about how the fans were upset over the last few years about, why aren't we better? And the comment was made going into the break, well, Kirk showed he had everything figured out or something along those lines. And like, I understand the take, but let's give Tim Lester some serious credit about, I know the Caleb Johnson emergence, maybe some of that was coincidental. Like, he emerged right when Tim took over, but you cannot convince me that Iowa would be anywhere close to where they are, even offensively. I know they're not real high in total offense nationally, but they are really, they headed into this game top 40 in the country in rush offense. I can't for a minute be convinced that Mark Gronowski would have come to Iowa had the previous staff still been coordinating the offense. So I just think that Tim Lester deserves a lot of credit, and the fans had a right to be upset over the 3 years of poor offensive play. So that I just wanted to respond to that, just because it was mentioned during the broadcast.
And I don't think Molden's not getting enough credit either. That kid can run. He's got good vision, and we got Jazz back today, so that's awesome. So we got 4 guys that can run the rock. So Molden just looks smooth and is doing the right things and making the right reads and making the right cuts. So yeah, no, I agree with you on if Gronowski, if other OCs were here, maybe he wouldn't have came. But with Lester running this pro style offense, it's something he wanted to partake in. So here we are.
And that backup wouldn't be here. We would not be here if it wasn't for Coach Warren coming here and helping out the offense. Now, will Jeremy Hecklinski be the future? I don't know. I think there's a reason why you don't often see, Matt, you probably can attest to this. You don't often see a ton of movement, QB3, QB2 in season. And the comment was made during that first bye week. He was able to get more snaps during that bye week because it was a bye week. And we've seen movement there. So that's an interesting storyline as well. D. Rollison, thank you for the super chat. Says Gophers spanked harder in Kinnick than Caitlin Clark's team win over DePaul. I'll wear the Tiger Hawk in Minnesota proudly this week. Thanks, Corey. So thank you, D. Rollison. Matt, were you at the game at Kinnick, the Caitlin Clark game?
Basketball game? Yeah.
Okay. Are you wearing a Caitlin Clark shirt?
No, it's just black.
You look down at your shirt. I'm like, is he wearing a Caitlin Clark shirt?
No, I don't. I need a cool Aaron Graves sweatshirt, though. I need that.
Yeah, you do, man. Former lineman, you don't got the Gravedigger shirt. So
the shovel and everything.
The shovel. Yeah.
What would my shirt have been? I don't know. Just some pumpkins or something on it, probably. I don't know.
What was your nickname in Iowa?
My nickname?
Yeah.
I don't think I had one. I have no idea.
You could do something with like the word growl or
Kroll the Warrior King. I don't know.
No, it's not Kroul, but it's
close enough.
Rolling with Kroll.
I wasn't much of a personality. I didn't have nicknames. I don't think, Corey. Sorry.
Let's roll with Matt Kroll. That's pretty
There you go.
corny and
Simple.
cheap, but maybe your kids can use it to make some money once they become teens. They can do something, start some business with that.
We'll figure something out, I'm sure.
All right, folks. This is Matt Kroll, legendary Hawkeye and former New York Jet, Matt Kroll, who is with us thanks to Farms of America. If you have not yet checked out that series, Matt, how can people watch the Farms of America series?
So it's on Reagan and Massey YouTube for sure. It's been on RFD, and I think it's still streamed on the Cowboy channel, which is free too. So go check it out. The part of those three things, and Reagan Massey's been great. Got to spend some quality time with Mike Massey, who is one of the leaders of that organization. So been great to get to know those guys, and excited, like I said, to see season 2 and check out season 1 if you haven't. They cover us. They cover dairy. They cover other beef farmers, crawfish, cranberry farmers, chicken farmer, a former Nebraska athlete. So always encouraging to see younger generation get into farming. I think the average age is like probably close to 60 now. And so we need younger generations, one, to be able to get into the realm of agriculture, and then 2, just stick with it. Sometimes this isn't always the glamorous work in the world, but Farms of America does a great job to educate and show people what the world of agriculture is like. So yeah, please check it out. Yeah,
future generations. That's certainly an important topic in that the farming industry as a whole. And next time you're here, I saw somebody say, "Hey, want Matt back for Oregon because they want another spanking." But I want to talk a little bit about what it was like having cameras and having the crew there, and just what that whole process. That's something we haven't talked about. So
yeah, it was you watch all this reality TV the last 10 to 15 years, and you're like, how do they make that? What do they do? And they legitimately were 12, 16 hours a day. I think they spent 5 days with us. We're here for getting my kids ready for school one morning. They were in the tractor at 3 a.m. one night. I was seeding some cover crops. So, it's very interesting, the hours and hours of footage they take, and to condense that into a 26-minute episode, it's pretty impressive. So to see that firsthand and to experience it firsthand, was pretty cool. And it's quite the production to cram all that footage into 26 minutes and tell a story of each of these farms. And I think they did an absolutely great job of doing that. So yeah, it was you try not to change your normal day, but it's hard when cameras are kind of following you around. But they kept everything pretty natural, and they're a great crew to work with. So they're good people.
Farms of America, check it out over on Reagan and Massey's YouTube channel. I saw somebody said in the chat that they have already watched every episode. Chris Bacon, what a great last name for plugging in the show once again. Chris Bacon says watched every episode of Farms of America twice. So there's an endorsement. If I didn't make a good one, Chris has one. So Matt, it's always a pleasure, and we hope to talk to you in the weeks to come, and we hope these wins keep on rolling in. It makes my job and your job pretty easy here.
I'll take it. Stack them up. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in a couple weeks, and go Hawks.
All right, folks, we're going to hit a 90-second break, and when we come back, more Iowa postgame. We'll welcome in Coach Don Patterson. We'll be right back.
Over the past year, we traveled the country visiting American farms, and something great came of it. All because Reagan and Massey gave farmers a platform to share the history, the business, and the people that together have created their farm's identity. This project has uncovered the reality of what many farms in the country have to go through, and it's been long overdue. With our country losing an average of 28,000 farms a year, what better of a time to tell the stories than now? So we'd like to thank you for joining us on our travels and inviting these farmers into your living room, just as they have done for us.
what a great show to plug as we continue into hour two. I guess we're actually through 90 minutes, so we appreciate Matt Kroll for taking so much time recapping Iowa's 41-3 victory over the Minnesota Golden Gophers. We welcome in Coach Don Patterson, fresh off his trip to Kinnick Stadium. Don, welcome. Thank you for being here as always.
It's good to be back, Corey.
All right, so we're going to kind of start fresh. You didn't catch, I assume you didn't catch our first 90 minutes, so we went through a lot. We didn't do a ton of like play-by-play breakdown just because, it's almost hard to do that when you have a landslide like what we saw in that first half. And let's be honest, the game was over at halftime. You could argue it was over. I made the comment, it was over for me into the first quarter. Now, I know in reality it's not, but 17's always been the magic number, Don. You brought that up. But Floyd the Piggy stays home. Talk about where this thing went right for Iowa, where it went wrong for the Golden Gophers.
Well, I think one thing that was interesting, Corey, I never mind sharing analytics after the game. So when you just zeroed in on Minnesota, I looked at 6 games. I threw out, they had one blowout game against Northeastern State, threw them out, included Cal, included Buffalo, and then, of course, the 4 conference games they'd played. There were only 2 parameters that were identified with the winning team in all 6 games, and that was the priority going in. One of those was average starting field position, and we won that by something more than 10 yards on each and every possession. Of course, being +3 on turnovers helps a lot, and returning a punt for a touchdown helps a lot too. So we won that easily. The one I was really worried about, though, it's a new parameter you're familiar with, passing yards per attempt. That was also identified with the winning team in all 6 games. And going into the game, Minnesota had reason to be optimistic they could beat us on that aspect of pass efficiency, kind of a simple way to measure pass efficiency. How many yards did you get every time you throw the ball on average? We were only averaging 5.5 coming into the game. Today, though, I believe it was 7.0. Let me check. Yes, 7.0 compared to their 3.9. So we beat them convincingly on pass efficiency. That's not the true efficiency number you see with quarterback ratings, but it's just a simple way to analyze passing efficiency is how many yards do you get per attempt. We won that significantly too. We won all kinds of parameters. It was at halftime. I used this phrase, total domination. It really was total domination in the first half. Second half, they got into the game a little bit more, but I was proud to see us still finish the game with some momentum. Get a lot of guys with playing time. That's always important. Got a lot of the starters out on defense in particular. And it was good to see those backups in there playing and having a lot of fun doing it.
Before we get to our first caller, and I got a couple of notes I want to run through. We do want to give a quick plug to this guy, Brad Van Meter, and his team down with State Farm, proudly sponsoring our entire show, including this segment with Coach Don Patterson. Be sure you call Brad first thing Monday morning for a free quote on insurance. 515-256-6480. 515-256-6480. Auto rates continuing to come down. Give them a call. All you got to do is give them a call. You get a free quote. And again, you can also do that in person if you live in the central Iowa area. 4229 Fleur Drive. That's Brad Van Meter and his State Farm team in Des Moines. Also, see how tasting is believing with Iowa Smokehouse. Use the code Hawkeyes and experience their thick and tender cuts of beef jerky, their flavorful meat sticks, their barbecue sauces, their salsas. You'll never need to look anywhere else for game day or, frankly, any day, and get it delivered right to your doorstep. If you use the code Hawkeyes, which is a limited time offer, folks, use the code Hawkeyes. You'll get 15% off your order. Spend $50, free shipping. It keeps. It's great. Everybody in your family will thank you, including anybody that comes over for the ball game. IowaSmokehouse.com. Support local. Support our show. support our sponsors. Use the code Hawkeyes to support yourself with 15% off your order at iowasmokehouse.com. As we're talking here, Don, as you're talking about Iowa, Minnesota, I'm over here keeping an eye on Wisconsin, Oregon, because right now Wisconsin is battling Oregon tough, and it is first down and 10 Oregon at their own 2-yard line after a phenomenal punt. Wisconsin playing Iowa football of 2021, and they're doing it well right now in Eugene. So I'm not saying they're on upset alert yet, but we're in the second quarter, and it's still 0-0.
Well, you beat me to the punch, because as I was having my bowl of soup for dinner, Lisa makes great soup, I was watching Wisconsin, Oregon, and I was pleasantly impressed that Wisconsin was hanging in there, as you said. So we'll see what happens. I am convinced of this, Corey. We absolutely have a chance to find a way to beat Oregon. It will not be easy, but I would not count these guys out, because we saw a lot of good signs today. We're still in the process of getting better as a football team.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to run through some notes. I'll be honest, Don, I don't have a ton of notes in the fourth quarter, but obviously a lot happened in the first quarter as well as the second quarter. So first quarter, beautiful opening drive, touchdown drive, started with a chunk play to Kaden Wetjen, getting your guys, your best playmakers, the ball in space. Really nice catch at the first down marker by Jacob Gill, extending the drive. Kamari Moulton was running strong as he has been. He's playing the best football of his college career, and it was capped off by a Mark Gronowski rush touchdown. Second offensive drive, 4th and 1 conversion by Iowa. Tush push. It was close, but they did get it and were rewarded the spot. Iowa settles for a 34-yard field goal. Iowa pretty conservative on third down, I thought, but again, points of the essence. They get up 10-0. And then the Zach Lutmer pick six, to me, was the nail in the coffin of the first half. First play of that Minnesota drive. It's 17-0 into the first. Second quarter, you have the Mark Gronowski touchdown pass to RVZ. I thought it was a phenomenal throw. Great catch over former Iowa DB John Nestor. You have the punt return for a touchdown by Kaden Wetjen. And once he cuts that corner, Don, it's almost impossible to stop him. And the great thing about Kaden is he's proven he also has a very good, solid center of gravity. Even when he gets tripped up, he's got the composure, the legs of a running back. And maybe that's because of his short stature like a Tim Dwight, but he stays on his feet really well. And if it wasn't for Seth Anderson slipping on a third down slant, they may not have to punt in that first half. Reese Dakin ends up punting for the first time in that second quarter. There was the one other note I had in the second quarter. Mark Gronowski hit on the slide. There was no late hit call. It was a late slide, and it was mentioned on the broadcast. I agree with the no call. Iowa was fortunate. They should have gotten called for holding. It was an obvious hold on Jennings Dunker on that play. But Iowa goes into the half up 31-0. And then, of course, third quarter, Stevens gets the 46-yard field goal. He was solid today. And Minnesota finds a way to get points on the board, avoid the shutout. But, and then Buffington interception in the fourth. Late Jeremy Hecklinski touchdown. But Iowa really just sat on this lead after halftime. You knew they would, similar to the Wisconsin game. And just so people are aware, still 0-0 Oregon, Wisconsin, and it is raining cats and dogs out there in Eugene. So slop them up, right? That's what you want if you're Wisconsin taking the trip out to Eugene. So, Don, I know that I went through a bunch of notes there. Anything you want to comment on? I know there was a lot.
Let me mention this to you, Corey. Our listeners might wonder, if you, over the last 10 years in the Big Ten, if you score a defensive touchdown, you win 76% of the time. And you go one step further. If you score a kicking game touchdown, you win 77% of the time. Well, what do you think happens when you score on both kicking and defense? I'm pretty sure it might be 100%. We did that today, of course. Hard to imagine losing a game if you don't generate touchdowns by offense, defense, and kicking. We were able to get that done today.
And Jayhawk asked the question about Desmond King joining the staff. He's not on the staff officially at this point. I don't know about Noah Shannon. But, Desmond King was working with the team preseason. At Kids Day, he was there, as was, I believe, was it Jaleel Johnson, I believe, was there as well. So okay. I see a couple of people here in the chat. We will get to those comments, but we've had a couple of people waiting on hold for a long time OS for Hawks is on our Iowa Smokehouse call line. OS for Hawks, who do you think or what do you think our Big Grove big play of the day was today? We haven't talked about it yet.
That's tough. I
All
think
right.
there's two.
Okay.
First of all, Lutmer's pick six was fantastic.
Okay.
But
What's the other one?
Wetjen's return for a touchdown was great
Okay,
too.
so this is how, if anybody watched Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with Regis Philbin back in the day, you get to eliminate two. Well, you've eliminated two of the four options. Now you've got two, but you got to make a selection between those two. You know one of them's right, but you use that lifeline. So which one is it?
It has to be Lutmer.
Oh, he got it. He got it. He advances. Thank you very much. Big Grove's big play of the day. Zach Lutmer's 34-yard return for a touchdown. That pick six late in the first quarter, the interception. Again, Big Grove's big play of the day. OS for Hawks, thank you for calling our show.
Yeah, I was just going to say good evening, Coach. Good to see you. I haven't been on the last couple of shows. Fortunately, they're later games, and once it hits about 11 o'clock, I have a hard time staying up, and so I'm far enough in the queue that I didn't get on, but that's all right. Anyway, I just wanted to say one thing. I found out something today that I didn't know. Aaron Graves, I have a connection to Aaron Graves on the Iowa team.
Okay.
His dad is from my hometown.
Which is?
Sanborn, Iowa. His dad is Mark Graves, and he's from Sanborn, Iowa.
Sam Warren?
Sanborn is way up in the northwest corner.
Okay, Sanborn. I think
Hartley
Aaron,
Melvin, Sanborn. I don't know if you've heard this.
Yeah, I think Aaron actually grew up in Dayton and then obviously went to school.
Yeah, Mark's a coach down in Dayton. Yes,
yeah.
But Mark's originally from Sanborn. Anyway,
okay.
That's where I'm from originally. Not
Very
that
cool.
that means anything or not.
Hey, I got the Aaron Graves shirt on. You know that.
I know. I saw that, and it was kind of funny because one of my classmates from high school posted something about Mark being Aaron's dad today. That's how I didn't know that, but
well, go get your go get your shirt. Go get your.
I will.
RTI.
I will. I've got some stuff coming. Wetjen is giving me Tim Dwight flashbacks here as of late. Two different styles. I think Dwight was that guy had an accelerator like nobody I've ever seen. I think he starts so fast, but I think Wetjen is maybe a little shiftier. I don't know, but those run backs are just.
Who is shiftier, Don? Timmy Dwight or Kaden Wetjet Wetjen? Who is shiftier?
I give a slight edge to Tim Dwight. Let's not forget, he returned 5 punts.
Yeah.
Was that in one season or a career? I'm not sure which. But I know he returned 5 punts. Nobody else returned more than 2 for touchdowns.
Yeah. Well, how many does that? Wait a minute. Hold on. How many does Kaden have?
Well, he's got kickoffs too. Right?
No, I'm not saying. I'm talking about just punts. Caden has at least 2. He has at least 2 this year.
My point is, he's still got to go ways to catch Tim. Look it up. I'm pretty sure Tim returned 5 for touchdowns.
I understand, but Caden's also got 4 games still. So
absolutely, hope he breaks Tim's record.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something?
And then one other thing, I was a little late getting here tonight. I didn't see who you picked player of the game.
Oh yeah, so we went over our Big Grove's big play of the day, but do you want to guess who our player of the game is?
Zach Lutmer.
No, it was Kaden. You should have just stuck with what you know.
I figured it was Kaden. I was just being funny. Sorry.
Oh no, Zach was in the conversation. Zach Lutmer was really good today. But no, RTI Threads player of the game, Kaden Wetjen, 3 catches, 49 yards, 1 carry, 8 yards, 4 punts returned for 80 yards, including the 50-yard return for a touchdown. Yeah, I mean, we just talked about it, Don, but what happened on that 50-yard return to create? It just seems like, I say, once he breaks, is the word, I don't know if this applies to punt returns, but once he breaks contain, like, it's on, because nobody's going to catch him in the open field. And again, he's even if he gets hit, he's got the. Does that make sense when I say center of gravity like a running back?
Yeah.
He's not easy to bring down.
Sometimes you hear people talking about contact balance.
Yes, absolutely.
Contact balance.
So what happened on that play, Don? Did you see it right away when he fielded it?
Well, I think some people make the mistake. If the punt appears to have good hang time, I think you see some cover teams relax a little bit, anticipating a fair catch. They don't know Wetjen very well because he doesn't like the fair catch. And I think they relaxed a little bit, assuming it was going to be a fair catch. And yet that signal never came, of course, because Kaden had already decided, I think I'm going to try to return this one. And when he gets headed downhill, it's like he's got one speed and everybody else is slower. He's running at a different speed than everybody else. He really is.
Yeah. You're just hoping there's not a holding penalty somewhere, because in those situations, I mean, oftentimes if there's going to be a hold on a Kaden Wetjen run, usually it's a hold that's unnecessary because he just makes guys miss. So, anyways,
one of my other notes I had.
else?
Well, I just had a couple notes. One of my other notes is I kind of agreed with you on the Entriger thing. I think we are very lucky that he is going to be playing against the Ducks, because that looked to me like it could have easily been called targeting, in my opinion.
Well,
even though it was a shoulder, it was still to the upper parts of the. Yeah,
I mean, here's the bottom line. And the comment here in the chat, what was Cohen doing? There's always going to be the people that defend somebody because they see things through rose-colored glasses or black and gold lenses every single time, Don. And I heard even Matt Kroll came on here and said he thinks maybe Cohen thought that the receiver he hit was the guy the ball was coming to. The issue I have, Don, with that is it appeared to me that he launched and he went high. Okay. It wasn't crown of the helmet, but he launched and went high on a defenseless player. So whether it fits the criteria for targeting or not, and by the way, they said no to targeting. I'm a little surprised, like you are, as for Hawkeye. I'm a little surprised by that, but they still gave him the 15 for a personal foul penalty. My issue with that is you got to know the situation. And I know it's fast, right? Everything's coming at you fast. Second half, though, it's defenseless player. That's my issue. From a perspective of potentially losing Cohen for the first half of Oregon, which would be horrific. And B, I'm just telling you right now, I love football. I do not want to see those types of violent hits on defenseless players. And that's what the targeting rule is designed to try to eliminate, are the dangerous hits that create head injuries. And it didn't look good. Now, maybe he did think that receiver was in line to make that catch, Don, but I just thought it was a foolish decision / play by Cohen. To me, he's got to go, even if he thinks that guy's making the catch, go low. That's what you've got to teach. That's what you're taught now with the new targeting rules.
Here's the thing I couldn't help but notice, Corey, on that drive, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there were 35 yards in penalties on that scoring drive. That was the one field goal.
It's a very sloppy third quarter. I thought those are things to clean up when you get into halftime, and I think you get a little complacent, Don. You're up 31-0.
Yeah.
By the way, real quick, call out Kenneth Merriweather too. We don't.
Yeah.
We don't. No, hold on a second. We don't punch guys in the no-no squares. We don't do that. Okay. That is not I don't care if guys are wearing protection or not. You're just asking for trouble. And when that happens in the NBA or in college basketball, you're automatically done. So had that been reviewed, I don't know. Can they upgrade that to the equivalent of in college basketball, Don? You have a penalty 2 flagrant foul. When you're going, if a guy throws a punch at a guy's face, he's done. That has been but to punch a guy in the no-nos, that is not a good response. I understand he probably got held or he got blocked late. And I know people defended Kenneth Merriweather against Indiana, but let's not forget, He was also charged with a roughing the passer penalty at the end of the first half that set Indiana up for a field goal, which proved to be costly at the end. Because remember, Iowa was tied late, and you know what happened there. I'm not blaming Kenneth Merriweather for that necessarily, but the fact of the matter is he was flagged for that. So Kenneth Merriweather, he's earned playing time, but he's had a propensity at a couple of big moments. In this case, thankfully, it wasn't a really big moment. It was a Big Ten game, but Iowa was up big. But you can't have those types of dumb penalties. Same thing happened first play of the Iowa State game. Remember, Caden Wetjen got called for a unsportsmanlike out of bounds. Iowa is the least penalized school in the country. So those, because they're so well disciplined as a whole, we notice them more. I get that. But those are the things that are going to keep Kirk Ferentz and the coaches up at night, those dumb, unnecessary penalties. But when the coaching staff goes back and watches Kenneth Merriweather punch that guy between the Twin Towers, there should be some discussion, because that could cost you in a big moment. Anyways, Don, care to weigh in on the penalties that you brought up?
Well, you mentioned Merriweather in several different games, so there's a tendency there to suggest that he can't control his anger very well. And those are penalties that can get you made, of course. As you've heard me say before, Corey, the retaliator always gets caught.
Right.
Don't be the retaliator. You know, you've got to make a note of his jersey, maybe, if he hits you late. And if you can deliver on him on some other play, that's fine. But it's got to be within the context of the game.
Right. So, and again, I'm just bringing up two anecdotes, but OS for Hawks, that's what I would say on those penalties.
Yeah, no, and then I only had one last thing. Just when we were talking about Hecklinski earlier, what is basically Hank Brown lost the number 2 spot? Is that's what's gone on in camp?
I think so. Hey, but you know what, Don? Hecklinski seemed to have won that during the first bye week. Hank Brown's got a chance to win it back this bye week. Those are the opportunities that you have with byes, right, Don?
That's true. You know, that was one disappointment I had. We had a chance to pull Mark a little bit earlier tonight and maybe look at both quarterbacks, and we chose not to do that. So I'd like to see, obviously Mark's going to get some rest this week. Good chance to evaluate both quarterbacks. Be sure we know who our backup is. I'm talking about the backup having to play when the game's on the line, of course.
By the way, Oregon just scored a touchdown. So finally, with a minute to go in the first half, Oregon is on the board, 6-0, extra point pending. They do that weird thing, Don, where they line up like they're going for 2, and then they go back and they kick the field. What's the deal with that? Explain to the average fan why Oregon does that.
Well, it's like what most people do. Some people do. They line up in a very spread formation just to check to see if you defend it properly. If you don't, they have a quick throw to somebody out there on the wing that's got blockers in front of him, and they'll run him and score. If you deploy the right way, they'll simply realign in a kick formation and kick the PAT. So people refer to it as a swinging gate. If you defend the swinging gate, then they'll go ahead and tighten the formation down so that they can kick the PAT.
All right.
That's all I had.
Okay.
No, that's all I had. Thanks, guys. Thanks,
Thank you,
Coach.
sir.
You guys have a great evening. Go Hawks, beat the Ducks.
You got it, buddy. Thank you, sir. We'll be talking about that one for a while with the bye week in between. Extra point is good. 7-0, Wisconsin trailing Oregon. All right. Kent in the chat. We're from outside of Iowa via Caitlin Clark. Made us fellow Hawks. How about that? Caitlin Clark bringing people into Hawkeye football, the Hawkeye football fold. Lomansky, thank you for being a premium member, Lomansky, and for your donation. Coach Don equals analytics for Kirk, recruiter for life, keeps Corey out of the ditch, never retire.
Thank you, Lomansky. I'll take your words to heart.
All right.
I'll do this a while longer.
Do it a while longer. Okay. Absolutely. Lomansky, again, thank you so much. And if people have not done, I know that's scrolling across the bottom. Get your orders in now. RTI Threads is proud to carry NIL athletes Aaron Graves, Jacob Gill, Carson Shire, Zach Lutmer. So much merch to choose from. I've got quite a bit of it in my closet. I've been sporting the Zach Lutmer shirt. I've got the Aaron Graves sweatshirt on, very warm. Actually getting a little hot in here. I might have to open a window. Yeah, definitely check it out. RTI Threads, proud sponsor of our program. All right, let's see. We've got Vincent on hold. We have got a couple of comments that I had saved. Esther, thank you for being here. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Borg Warner reminding everybody to hit the like button and subscribe. VMS says, true stat, Coach Patterson had more rush yards than Minnesota until late in the fourth quarter. So that is true. Michelle wants to know, no game next week, so Corey, will you go live? Well, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. Possibility of that? Yes, possibility of that. Doing a bye-week show, so we'll figure that out. Definitely stay tuned to social media and to YouTube. Copper Stacker says playoffs. Don't be talking about playoffs. Are you kidding me? Playoffs? Oh, Don, they're in the race. They're in the race. They're in the
Absolutely.
hunt. They are.
We're 6-2, and all we care about is finding a way to be 7-2. That's all.
6-2, and they're 4-1 in the league.
Good point.
4-1 in the league.
There's some other 6-2 teams that have 2 losses in conference, right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. This has been such a weird game. I can't tell if it's raining or snowing out in Eugene, but it is sloppy. We got ponchos. We got guys with cheese heads on, which is strange because last I checked, this isn't Packerville. But it is 7-0 with $1.07 left. The problem for Wisconsin, Don, and you know this, they lose a lead, it's going to be hard for them to come back against anyone.
Sure.
So it's going to be interesting to see last minute how aggressive they are with just one timeout. It's a short kick, return to the 10, 15, 20, to the 25, to the 30, to the 33. Well, maybe you go for something with a minute flat with one timeout. We'll see how aggressive they are in the weather. So we'll keep our eyes on that. All right, let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call line. Let me see. Did I miss anything here? No, let's go back to Vincent. We've got Vincent on hold. Vincent, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Good evening. I'm going to just quote another coach. I know a couple callers had said that Minnesota was a good team, but to quote the late, great Dennis Green from the Vikings and Cardinals, they are who we thought they were with the Minnesota Golden Gophers. I don't know why people were thinking they were that good. Everything I'd seen previously with their games, Nebraska is just not good either. The 8.5-point spread didn't surprise me one bit. And to be quite honest, the final score doesn't really surprise me. So anyway, just to kind of start off my comments, none of that stuff or none of the stats surprised me, nor the
Now,
score.
I will say this, Vincent. If I go back to last week, will you be saying the same thing? I don't remember your call last week. Were you saying the same thing last week?
I didn't have a comment on the Minnesota game last week. I know when you and I talked, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember what we talked about. It wasn't about Minnesota. We had talked about other stuff, but it wasn't about the Minnesota game. But no, it doesn't. Minnesota was just out schemed, out game plan. I mean, like Don said, it was a total domination as far as the game was concerned. So again, it wasn't surprising to me. I'm going to disagree with you on something real quick, Corey, just because I'm always honest when I call in. The Cohen and Tringer hit, me personally, to me, it's such a bang play. I know you don't want those kind of penalties. I get that. Merriweather, obviously, that's just a bonehead play, punching somebody in that region. But the Cohen and Tringer hit, I have to agree with Matt. When you're playing DB and you're looking at the levels coming your way, especially at the receiver position, when you're going to make that hit, you're trying to make sure you're getting contact as the ball arrives to either knock it loose or have an incompletion. I just don't think that was a dirty play because Cohen doesn't appear to be a dirty player. That's just my opinion on that. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, my issue is, to me, I think it's very easy to fall back on it was a bang play. Like, I think we say that way too much. It was a bang play. I mean, that is a bang play. Well, but how do you enforce anything if you're just going to say, well, it was a bang play? So that shouldn't be targeting. I mean, was it you tell me this? Was it a defenseless player?
In my opinion, no.
How is that not a defenseless player? Explain that to me. Do you know what defenseless player means?
Yeah, I know what defenseless player means. Again, just like Matt was saying, and it's a
Matt
position
didn't say
I
it wasn't.
played.
Matt never said it wasn't a defenseless player.
Well, I guess it depends on, and you can look at it twofold, but when it's a position I've played, I've actually played both wide receiver, safety. So I know how those positions are. And when you're coming full speed, especially from depth, and I'm sure Don can probably say the same thing. When you're coming from depth, full speed, and you're anticipating your coverage guy to possibly get that ball, if you know you can't get there to break it up, your next thought is to make sure you make contact to break it up or have an incompletion. So the reason I say bang, bang is when it's going that fast, especially in college football, to me, I don't look at it as necessarily defenseless. I look at it as bang, bang. It's one of those you wish you could take back. He's not a dirty player. That's why I just don't agree with the, hey, it's a bonehead play by Cohen. I don't think that's the case. If that very same circumstance comes up again, I'm sure he's going to have his head up to make sure that the ball's not coming to that receiver. But those two guys were layered behind each other by 5 yards. If that, it's one of those that, to me, again, it's a bang, bang play. So I'm not trying to, I guess, cause a stir, but I don't agree with you on that take. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you've gotten me all riled up, Vincent.
No, I'm just like,
Don,
hey, that's why I
Don.
love the show is you can be transparent. That's a tough one to swallow because to me, again, bang bang. But Don, what's your take? Go ahead.
No, I didn't have any comment.
I thought
Don, you don't have a take on that?
Well, I didn't see the TV version of the game. We didn't really get a very good look at it in the stadium, so I'm not sure.
Well, how could I heard the crowd booing. I heard the crowd booing when they flagged him, and then they went back and reviewed it. You're telling me they didn't show it up on the Megatron?
No, I think they showed it, but I just wasn't sure about how I felt about it. I'd like to see it again, rather than at that moment. I think somebody around me maybe got my attention or something. I don't know what happened, but I just didn't have a strong opinion about it.
One of the many people that probably tried to get a picture with Coach Patterson. You were probably posing for one of your 80 pictures that you have to take every time you show up in public.
Well, thanks to your show, Corey. I did mention to Lisa, my tradition was to always go by the bathroom before we go to our seats. Lisa goes to her seats in advance of me because I'll make a stop at the bathroom. And she said, was there a long line in the bathroom? And I said, no, but there were 4 different people that said, oh, hi, Don. Hi, Don. I'm thinking, I don't know who any of you are, but I'm grateful that you know who I am. So I appreciate it. None of them call me Coach, but I suspect they all know me as Don because they hear Corey talking about Don Patterson. So I owe it all to you, Corey.
Your real name is Donnie. You tell me you don't love people calling you Donnie, so I don't call you Donnie.
Donnie sounds like a kid, and last time I checked, I'm not a kid. There's only one person that calls me Donnie nowadays, and it's my wife. And she does call me Donnie P sometimes.
Donnie P. All right, well.
Don and Corey. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Vincent.
No, I'll say this because I'm going to take my wife and kids to a game next year. And if there's just the off chance that Corey, I bump into you, or Don, I bump into you, if someone says, hey, that my name is Vincent, just wanted to say, hey, I will absolutely make sure I come up to you and say hello, just because I thoroughly enjoy, Corey, your platform, and Don, you taking the time for all of us fans to call in. So if you get that random guy coming up and that my cousin Vinny name rings a bell, that's why. So anyway,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Appreciate it.
I can look forward to that visit, Vince.
Vincent, and I still remember that when we got a call from him last week when Charles calls in. I remember that's your brother.
Yes, because the voices are
the voices. You guys sound almost the same.
Well, we are twins. I'm not sure if he told you that, but
I didn't know you were twins. Okay.
Yeah, he is my twin brother. I religiously watch you and Don, so I try to call in, each post game. But the one thing I did want to agree with you on, which wholeheartedly, I'm just like you, Corey. I don't want to see our players doing dirty plays. I don't think we have that kind of group, but I don't want to see that either. And again, not to harp on it, but I just didn't think with Cohen's, I just didn't lean towards that being a dirty play. But I want to just kind of move into the next question, if you guys don't mind.
Sure.
And I'm going to ask this probably each time I call in. I keep seeing steps being made by the offense. How would you guys grade today's game?
Well, the thing that pleased me, let's just talk a minute about that first drive. What I loved about that first drive is it was a little more pass and run.
Yep.
I like that because I knew going into it, we've got to become more efficient with our passing game. The first drive demonstrated we feel that way too, and we're going to take steps to get that done. That was a nice drive, in part because it did a good job of keeping them off balance. It was a little more pass and run, I do believe. So that's a good sign. The game got away from Minnesota, and at that point, of course, we weren't concerned about piling up a bunch of numbers. And the smartest thing we can do is be more concerning from that point forward, and I think that's what we did. But it's obvious to me, Tim and the offensive staff, they're focused on making this passing game more efficient.
Yep.
I saw some good signs today that we're aware that needs to be improved. We don't want to take on Oregon unless we're good at both run and pass. That's for sure.
So real quick, Don, can I interject here again, I love to ask the question for people that don't understand the sport or maybe understand parts of the sport or maybe brand new to investing Iowa football. There's two stats that people cite a lot. Yards per attempt, yards per completion. Tell us which one of those stats is more important and where should you be if you're an efficient Big Ten quarterback passing?
No doubt in my mind, yards per attempt.
Okay, so where should you be, and if your yards per attempt, where should that number be?
We've had quarterbacks. I have to go back and look at stats. I don't know if they finished the year with 10 yards per attempt, but I'm pretty sure we've had any number of guys back in the day that finished above 8 or 9 yards per attempt is a good number.
Just so people are aware, to put this in perspective, and we're talking about improvement, right? Mark Gronowski heading into this game, it doesn't look like we've got stats from today. Well, I have stats from today, but it hasn't compiled into the total, which is good. Heading into today, yards per attempt, Iowa, Mark was at 5.6, which is not very good. Today he was at 7, Don.
Right. Corey, our team numbers, now this counts all games. This is all 7 games before today, and we were ranked 18 out of 18 in the Big Ten on yards per attempt. So that gives you an idea. We got to be able to boost that number.
Yeah, I'm surprised by it's 18 of 18 because, man, there's some pretty crappy offenses in this league right now.
They were ahead of us.
Yeah, interesting.
I'm saying going into today they were.
Well, that almost makes me somewhat, Vincent, I'll let you chime in here. That gives me, to me, Tim Lester has given me, and should, I think, other people as well, reason for optimism heading into the bye week. Because one thing that came out of the bye week, Don, was they made a concerted effort to get Kaden Wetjen the ball. That has paid dividends. So now it's like, now I know there's a lot involved, right? Receivers have to be in the right spot, got to catch, got to run routes. Mark's got to get it to him. They got to get the right play call in at the right time. But that makes me think, can they maybe I would think the passing game is going to be a focus of the bye week. And it makes me somewhat, I am somewhat intrigued to see what Iowa can do against Oregon through the air. Vincent?
Well, no, absolutely. What I saw today was just the first drive alone, and just like Don was touching on, you saw confidence in the execution of these plays, whether it was run or pass. You saw confidence in the players executing the plays, and they're making the catches. Gill, Anderson, I don't think Vanderzee was hit on that first drive, but nevertheless, that's what you keep seeing. And like Tim Lester has said in his press conferences, these guys are gaining momentum, gaining confidence. They're playing based off of what they're seeing in a defense, and they're executing, and you're just seeing that on the field. So that's what's very encouraging for us as a fan base, is you're seeing receivers catching passes. Because heck, remember 2 years ago, I don't think we had a receiver catch a pass for the first 3 or 4 games. I mean, that's how bad it was. It was all tight ends and running backs. But anyway, I digress. Point is I'm just on the same page as you, Corey. I think with the bye week, you're going to see even more of game planning with not only Wetjen, but also Vanderzee, and then how can they scheme even more in the passing game to take some off of the run. But gosh, the run is so effective too. Like, I just really like what I'm seeing from Lester. I'm sure you and Don do too, which is why I was asking what your guys' kind of grades were on it. But not to ramble, it's encouraging. It's encouraging. And Don, I'm sure you think the same thing.
Yeah, the thing I love about having the bye now, it gives us extra time to prepare specifically for Oregon. And that's important. It really is. We have more time to prepare for a very, very difficult opponent.
Yeah, they got to get more production out of Sam Phillips. They got to get more production out of Seth Anderson. I mean, to me, those are the two guys. And maybe you could argue RVZ, now that he's back and he's healthy, he has given them something. But I think the potential for those 3 guys is higher than what we've seen. Some of that is unknown, Don, but that's what I'm presuming, that the potential for RVZ and for Sam Phillips and for Seth Anderson is higher than what we're seeing. Seth's had a bit of a propensity for drops. Sam's just kind of been, after he kind of started as the go-to guy. Have we noticed that, guys? He started as the go-to guy, and now he's not even getting targeted much. Is that just because RVZ is back, Don?
Well, part of it ties into 21 playing more.
Yep.
Yeah, true too.
Yep. And also what the defense is doing. If the defense is just covering, and you hate to knock a shorter guy because he can certainly get separation, but sometimes the defense just plays certain receivers well, and maybe that just might also be the case with him. I'm not 100%, but just an outsider's take. One thing I wanted to ask you guys, and this is just some food for thought, because I was thinking about this in the whole NIL era and how NIL is affecting teams. I guess what I was thinking, and I'll try to make this very, very short, it gives me a greater appreciation given the NIL, and I'm sure both Corey, when I get done saying this, and Don the same, you'll either agree or take some context from it. But with the NIL being what it is, I have a greater appreciation for Kirk and what he's done culture-wise, and I'm sure Hayden was the same way, Don. But the culture, just how important it is to the college football atmosphere and the players, because with NIL being what it is and players, tending to take more money to jump ship, it gives me a greater appreciation for what we do have at Iowa and how we're going to be able to continue to sustain that while Kirk is there and even probably beyond. And it's because when you have players that are getting paid to play almost like the NFL, where coaches, and you're seeing it kind of in the coaching landscape now, where players are almost, you don't want to say they have more power than the coach, but you kind of see maybe it could start going that way, because they're thinking, well, if I'm getting paid X amount of dollars to come here and play, I should have more of an input or say on either playing time or how the ball is distributed or whatnot. The one thing I keep thinking in my head is, man, we actually probably have a pretty good situation given what Kirk has built over 27 years and even Hayden the prior 20 plus prior to that. Does that make sense as I'm saying it to you guys? Or does that just sound like just banter?
You mean to go, Corey?
Sure. Go ahead, Don.
I think one advantage we have because of NIL, I think truthfully a sense of family is maybe more important now than it even was before then.
Yes, that's what I'm leaning.
Because let's face it, if you're just going to play for the highest bidder, then you might be inclined to jump ship because maybe somebody else offers you more money than what you're being paid in Iowa. I think that's why it's so critical that there be a sense of family within the team. I think we have that right now. And guys, I think there are any number of guys that would turn down more money simply to stay here and be part of this family.
And that's kind of my point, is you're building a foundation as a player, not just pay for play. And so I guess maybe that was more so what I was trying to relay is, you have players that are coming in that appreciate the culture and the atmosphere and what the university and team brings versus just, hey, I'm here to play because I got paid. And it's going to have even more of a bearing on coaches. They're going to get maybe 2 years, 3 tops to either be productive or turn a program around. And if they're not, then they're going to be out the door because the university is going to say, hey, we're paying not only you, but we're bringing in players and paying them, and there's no results. That's a scary slope to me. And I know it's probably thinking a little bit too much ahead, but it's just one of those where I'm thinking to myself, gosh, we may be a more sustainable program moving forward just because of the impact that NIL is going to have. And I'm all for players getting revenue based off of their name, image, and likeness, because we all know we've bought those jerseys that we know who the jersey number is, but there's no name on it. I'm all for that, but it's just one of those spooky, slippery slopes that I say to myself, I'm just appreciative of what we have at Iowa as far as the culture. I think it's extremely important, for us going forward. Sorry.
But you can't take cheap shots to the crotch.
No, that was a dirty. I totally agree with you on that. And I don't know what the heck Merriweather was thinking. The reason it happened, Corey, is he got pancaked. And when I'm not sure if you saw the replay, but I kept stopping and replaying and backing up. But he got pancaked and just didn't like it, and that was his initial response, that's garbage. Anybody who, but anyway, gentlemen, as always,
everybody has bad moments. Everybody has bad moments.
Right.
But
right.
I'm not saying that the Indiana late hit against the quarterback was strike one, but if it for some reason was, then this was strike two. This was clearly a strike. And they say
you're talking about for Cohen or for
no
the
for
defense?
Kenneth, for Merriweather.
Oh, yes. Yep. I thought you were talking about Wampa's hit on Mendoza as he was trying to get the first down. My apology.
No, that was a clean.
Was a clear hit. And I thought you were talking about that.
I'm all for hits if they're clean. I just thought Cohen's. I just didn't think it was. I didn't like it, and I didn't like how high it was. If it was low, I wouldn't have cared. I mean, if it was just midsection, I'd have been like, yeah, whatever. Maybe you call a blindside block if they don't think he's anticipating the ball coming that way. I don't know if he was or he wasn't. I mean, some people on social media is like, oh, the ball was coming that direction. I'm like, you don't know that. You don't know what's going through his mind. You're assuming that's what he was thinking.
True.
But he may have just been wanting to light the guy up. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
It makes it hard. You've got to officiate it the way you got to officiate it. It was a defenseless player, in my opinion, and I don't really. I'm surprised you don't think so, Vincent. But how is it not? How is it not?
Here, I'll say this. My very first initial reaction was, what the heck was he thinking? I was just on the same page as you as far as my initial reaction, because I thought, okay, you're a smart, heady player. You're not known to be a dirty player. You know better. But they kept showing the replay, and as I watched the receiver routes unfold, they were it was a layered route where you have one receiver running at depth and then another one behind him at another 5 yards, but they were staggered. So I'm sure Don can probably attest. Sometimes when they're in close proximity and you're playing that safety position, and it just happens to be a position I played both, but when you're coming downhill at that rate of speed, your eyes aren't always up. And I think, and again, I was initially on the same page as you, but I watched it again 2 or 3 times. I'm like, oh, he was actually thinking that receiver was getting the ball, and he wanted to make sure that pass was not completed. That was my take.
Well, Don was a safety at Army, so Don, you're gonna watch that play, and you're gonna let me know later what you think about it.
Well, but what I saw right now, it looked to me like it was with the shoulder more so than anything else.
Yeah.
With whose shoulder?
Isn't it the same play we're thinking of?
Yeah.
And Trenger, yeah.
Lumber.
Don, whose shoulder are you referring to?
Lumber's shoulder.
We're talking about Entringer, aren't we?
I'm sorry. Was it Entringer?
Are we talking about the same play? Are we talking about the hit that was?
I'm talking about the one. It was not ruled as targeting because it was contact with the shoulder.
Right.
Okay, but
it was still ruled as a.
What shoulder are you talking about? Are you talking about Entringer's shoulder or the defender's shoulder?
Entringer's shoulder.
Okay, but if it doesn't matter if it's entering her shoulder, if it's still above the defender's shoulder, if he's still launching up into that upper area of the defender, he could use his knee, and if that's still targeting. If you're going high,
no, targeting's different. Targeting is the crown of the helmet.
No, there's okay.
But there's unnecessary roughness. So this is your point. This is your point. Unnecessary roughness is hitting a defenseless player. And Corey, you're right. Like that's where you feel this is unnecessary.
That's not targeting.
Right. You feel it's unnecessary roughness. Where I was like, oh God. I mean, you could certainly have that argument, but I just didn't feel that way based when I replayed it 2 or 3 times.
Can I just show you real quick? This is. Sure. This I'm going to just share my screen because it's not. I just wanted to confirm it before I said this.
No,
I just use Chat GPT because it's quick, right?
Sure.
You're going to show me the play, good.
No, I'm going to show. Well, we can do that too, but I want to show you. This is according to the NCAA football rulebook. Targeting occurs when a player takes aim at an opponent for the purpose of attacking with forcible contact that includes the crown of the helmet or makes forcible contact to the head or neck area of the defenseless opponent.
Head or neck, but he didn't do that though. He hit him shoulder to shoulder.
Okay, if it's shoulder to shoulder, then fine.
Yeah,
but
it's shoulder to shoulder.
That's why I asked Don. But if he's going shoulder, it doesn't have to be crown of the helmet. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yes, I'm sorry, you're correct. Yes, yeah,
you
are
has
correct.
To be high.
Yeah, if it's anything head or neck, like if he would have launched his shoulder right anywhere above the shoulder, then yes, you are correct. That's targeting. But in this case here, I just happened to see it like 3 or 4 times. It was shoulder to shoulder. And he actually turns his head like he's supposed to before contact, which even leads me to believe more. He thought that ball was probably coming to that receiver.
Yeah, and you're probably right. And obviously they looked at it and they said it wasn't targeting. Yeah. Gary Danielson thought it was. I think the officials were right. It wasn't targeting.
Yes,
I just don't like the nature of launching high like that on a defenseless player.
It looks bad. It looks bad.
So, anyways, yeah.
No, it does look bad. One last thing I just want to say, because you guys are both talking about this with Dwight and Wetjen. Well, I'm going to say this. I got a chance to see Dwight, during his career from 95 to 90 or 94, 95, 96, 97. And I never thought I'd see another Tim Dwight, but here it is 27 years later. And Wetjen is the closest thing, boy, you can get to a Tim Dwight. And I would have to agree with Don. I think just by a slim margin that Dwight he has better speed than Wetjen. But man, Corey, you're also correct. His ability, they both have the same natural ability as fearless kick and punt return, kick and punt returners. But their ability to read cutback angles is you can't teach that. Like they have just an insane ability to know where the cutbacks are to leave so many players behind in a split second. It's just, you can't teach that kind of stuff. So, but gentlemen, as always, thank you so much for the time, Corey, for giving us the platform. And Don, thanks for hanging out with us as fans. You guys have a great night.
My pleasure.
Good call. Angela, yes, please hit that like button, folks. Hawks by a million. Please hit that like button, whether you're on Twitter or YouTube. Very simple. Ask your grandmother how to hit the like button. It's very easy. And we appreciate you doing that, Angela, and reminding everybody. Jen, thank you for being a premium member. She says, I made the decision to get tickets to Oregon a couple of months ago. I think I made the right decision, road tripping from Chicagoland. And how about these suggestions for Matt Kroll on a nickname for Matt Kroll? Kroll Dozer. That's a good one. Kroll the Conqueror. I'd give that a C+, maybe. I mean, you're fortunate I gave you the plus. John Stickrod. Rollin' and Krollin, not bad. And let's see here. No updates yet on the Bo Stevens injury, but he did return. I wonder if he wasn't just taken out late for Leighton Jones, just like Dunker was precautionary. They're up by so much, Don. And I made the comment, and we don't need to stay on this, but I've just accepted that Kirk, it doesn't matter who the OC is, he's never going to take the quarterback out early enough from my vantage point. He just never will do that.
Yeah.
He just won't. He just doesn't see it the way I see it. And I think it's fair to say the way you see it, the way most people see it, he leaves them in. Why are you leaving in Mark Gronowski with 10 minutes to go up 31? I would like to ask that question. Give me the logic behind it.
Right.
I don't understand the logic. But nobody got hurt. It didn't seem like. I don't even know why Kamari Moulton's in that situation. Kamari has proven to be one of the most important players in the football field for Iowa's offense. You got a full stable of running backs. Heck, put Jazz Patterson and Terrell Washington in the game.
At that point, we're tempting fate.
Yeah, I'm not sure why you even leave Kamari Moulton in the game at that point. I don't understand that. And you can't convince me that's Tim Lester. Don, do you think that's Tim making that call?
I don't know that it is. I don't know.
What I believe, and this is my guess is those guys are going to continue to run the players that are best suited, like the running back. Coach Young is going to give those, give the offense, give Lester, give Kirk the best player for that play, or Tim's going to do the best player for that play until Kirk says, get Kamari out or get the starter out or whatever those conversations are. And I just don't think that happens early enough. But it's a good problem to have. That means you're blowing teams out of the water. And it's not often Iowa blows Minnesota and Wisconsin out of the water 2 times out of 3 weeks.
I'll just say this. There's nothing wrong with the position coach saying to the head coach if he feels it's necessary. Now, maybe it's been discussed before the game, and there's no reason to discuss it during the game. But at the very least, with the score 34-0, 34-3, I'm sorry, 31? No, 34, right? What was the final? 34.
It was 41-3 at the end.
Sorry, 41, yeah. I got confused about the numbers. There's nothing wrong at all with saying, Coach, I'd like to pull a Kamari. Or, Coach, I'd like to go ahead and pull Mark. We need to get these other guys some reps. There's nothing wrong with bringing that up as a position coach. Those discussions should happen, obviously, when the defense is on the field.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's not happening early enough. But, yeah, you can say we're nitpicking or I'm nitpicking, but just my opinion.
Let me give you an example years ago. And I just flashed back on this. We're playing Illinois, and we've got the game won. And it's late. We're playing over in Champaign. Jim Hartley's our starting quarterback. Jim played behind 2-time first-team All-Big Ten Matt Rogers a couple of years. Jim's only 1 year behind. And to Jim's credit, he took good advantage of the opportunity to be a 1-year starter, just like Mark Vlasic did in following Chuck Long. We got the game on ice. I simply said to Dave Triplett, who was on the sideline, Dave, let Coach know I'd like to pull Jim. Meaning the game's in good order. We don't want to get him hurt. When you know it, the puck went down inside our 5-yard line. I think it was maybe the 2-yard line, something like that. Coach Fry had a reason for what he was about to do. He said, Trip, let Coach P know I'm going to stay with Jimmy because I don't want to risk a turnover down here on the goal line. I understood that. Jimmy went on the field. The backup running back was in the game. The ball came out. The backup running back remained nameless. The ball's on the ground. Jim Hartley dives for the ball, trying to recover it. He gets his shoulder caught in a bad position. He separates his shoulder. That was the last of Jim Hartley that year. And my point is, and Coach Fry, he had a good reason to put Jim back in the game because we were on the minus 2-yard line. He didn't want to turn over down there, but then we didn't have one anyway. Our starting quarterback was in, but a backup running back was in. And I suspect, if truth be known, the fault of that exchange problem was a little more with that backup running back than it was with our starting quarterback. The bottom line, bad things happened. He separates his shoulder. He didn't get to play maybe the last 4 games of the year. Can't recall how many games. Just terribly unfortunate. And the point is, don't tempt fate. If you can avoid playing a key player late in the game, then do it.
Robert says, quit complaining about Kirk, you little dweeb. What's a dweeb, Don?
Who's a little dweeb, you or me or both of us?
Well, probably he's referring to me, but I don't know what a dweeb is. So somebody tell us what a dweeb is.
Tell Robert you meet him out in the back alley and you'll take him to the woodshed.
Oh, here, he's referring to me. And I'll do my Robert voice. He says, Corey, you complain no matter how good we are. How much football did you play? Not much. I don't get to pull. Hey, I don't get to pull that voice out as much when you're up 40, when you win 42-3, but that's what Iowa did tonight. Robert, thanks for watching. Thanks for your view. All right, let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Coach Don Patterson. Who's on the line?
Hey, this is Kyle Thompson.
Hey, Kyle, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're good.
I was at the game today.
Yeah, were you cheering? Were you loud?
Yeah, I was loud.
All right.
First half, and then all the energy went out in the second half because it was way out of reach.
Yeah, well, Don, what do you tell fans that feel a little restless in that second half when you're up 34-0?
Well, I'll say it this way. If you have a really good play that you had as part of the game plan, there's no reason to show it if you think it might apply to Oregon next time out.
True.
Yeah,
Kyle,
last time I checked.
we knew that was going to be the second half. When Iowa built that big lead, you just knew Iowa was going to sit on in the second half.
Yeah, that's what they always do.
Well, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, I'll take that same problem every weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is just a quick question, but I don't see it happen. It could happen, but I just don't see it. It's not very likely. But should PJ Fleck be on the hot seat after that performance?
No. However, I will say this: he has underachieved as it relates to bringing home hardware. I mean, say what you want about Kirk, and he doesn't bring enough championships. At least they were winning West titles. He has won some Big Ten titles since he's been at Iowa, and PJ has not been there as long. But Don, he's the second longest tenured Big Ten coach now.
Yeah.
And he played in the measly Big Ten West, Don, that everybody said was so easy to win. But that Big Ten West was dominated by Wisconsin, Iowa, even Northwestern. Minnesota never got there. So I think he's a little overrated for what he's done there. He's brought relevance back to Minneapolis, but they have not brought home hardware. But no, he's not going to be on the hot seat. Now, if they start struggling, I still think they're going to win 8 games, Don. Because 3 of their last 4 games are against Northwestern, I believe Michigan State, and who's the last one? I got it right here. Northwestern, Michigan State, and Wisconsin. So I think they'll probably get to 8 wins, which is pretty much what he's done there, Kyle. So no, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, it was just a curious question, and I don't have much. Hopefully, get rest up well for Oregon 2 weeks. That's all I got.
Thanks, Kyle. Absolutely. Rest up, get healthy, and get ready for Oregon. Folks, if you want to call in during the last bit of our show, certainly you can do that. The phone line is 515-635-1601, 515-635-1601, or you can click the StreamYard link. That's the more efficient way to do so. Click that StreamYard link in the description to call our Iowa Smokehouse line. Don, go ahead.
Corey, I just wanted to call your attention to a comment that's been entered. Dante Moore went down with an injury, T. Hicks says. I wonder how severe.
I am going to keep a better eye here. I know it's still 7-0. And let's see if we can get an update on. All right. While we're trying to get an update on Dante Moore, while Oregon is driving the field, we're going to take a quick, we'll take a quick 30-second break. We're going to put our caller on a brief hold, and we'll try to get an update on Oregon quarterback Dante Moore. The score is 7-0. Iowa's next opponent, the Oregon Ducks, leading Wisconsin right now. It is 7-0 in the third quarter, but we'll get an update on. We'll try to get an update on Dante Moore, his status, and we'll continue our discussion with Coach Don Patterson. Myself, you're watching Iowa Postgame with Coach Don Patterson right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Let me introduce you to one of the proud supporters of From the Hawkeye of the Storm, Iowa floor covering down in Bondurant. Now, for the last year and a half, you've heard me talk about this great company in the heart of central Iowa. They've got their tough core, click together, 4.5 millimeter waterproof vinyl flooring, great for you DIYers out there. But even if you're just a contractor or you need a different type of flooring, they've got you covered, whether it be tile showers, carpet. Give Iowa Floor Covering a chance to serve you better and serve your flooring needs. Visit them online at iowafloorcovering.com. That's iowafloorcovering.com, or you can give them a call at 515-379-7000. That's 515-379-7000. Thank you to Iowa Floor Covering in Bondurant. I want to give a brief update on Iowa Floor Covering's number. This is the new number, so we're in the process of getting that ad updated. If you have questions about flooring, give them a call, 515-207-0228. Again, 515-207-0228. That's the number. The website is iowafloorcovering.com. So again, we appreciate IFC for being with us for so long that they've had to update their number, and they're on the verge of updating the ad. So that just means we've got a strong relationship with Tyler, Ryan, and the guys down at Iowa Floor Covering. We're back with Coach John Patterson here on the show following Iowa's 41-3 victory over the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Okay, I believe, just so everybody's aware, Oregon just scored, so it's 13-0. PAT is pending. High snap kick is on the way. It's good. I have a hard time seeing Wisconsin being able to climb out of a 14-0 hold on the road. But we're going to get our next caller, and then we'll provide an update on Dante Moore. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Coach John Patterson, our Iowa Smokehouse call line. Who's on the line?
Lomansky, Corey, thank you for all you do.
Lomansky, thank you for being here, sir.
Say, Don, it's really nice that you're in the stands. Gary Danielson, the second half, commented about the subs on the offensive line. Like, I think we had nearly everybody different in the offensive line, and they still looked the same as we blew them off the defensive side of the ball. Is there anybody offensively or defensively that you saw in the reserves down the second half that you like to comment on or impressed you? I mean, Buffington got in, Epineza. Anybody you'd like to comment on the reserves?
Don, we can't hear you.
You know, I've taken the entire game, so I'll go back and look at it. Not tonight, but tomorrow. And I'll know a lot better then, you know, because you can look at the same play over and over again if you so choose. So I don't really have a strong feeling about the backups. I just don't know enough about them yet at this point in time.
Gary brought up in the chat, Don, Gary brought up Cam Buffington. He had the interception. He's a young linebacker who will likely have a chance to start next year, given some of the attrition they'll have via seniority. But Don, a nice play by Buffington on the pick.
Absolutely.
Corey, you do a lot of interviews and you're around the team, especially the last few years. Anybody that you think's got that attitude or personality on the backups that you really think can keep coming?
Well, I really like Michael Burt. I know he's not on defense, but he whiffed on a block today. I believe it was brought up. He doesn't get his name called a lot. So he's a young guy that I'm rooting for on offense. I'll just say that. And once, you know, he's got some guys ahead of him, but Don, he's next in line. Once, you know, it'll be DJ Ortworth. Now, Ostringa's got a chance to come back, and it sounds like he's planning on it. But Large, we expect him to be gone. So that should be a pretty healthy tight end room, Don, next year.
I did see somewhere on social media, somebody commented that Ostringa had made a decision already to come back. Now, I don't know what the source was.
Yeah, so Kirk, real quick, Kirk did say that he is planning on coming back.
Okay, good.
So we haven't heard that from Addison's mouth, but that is out there. But no, I like Michael Burt, Lomansky, and then on defense, is there someone in particular who has not yet played that I would really like to? I mean, Jalen Watson, obviously, I think his future is really bright. I really think Deshaun Lee and TJ Hall have, especially TJ, but both those guys have played as well as you could have hoped. I think in general. They really have, given some of the fears we had heading into the season. But Jalen Watson would be my pick on defense, I think. But yeah, they got some good linebackers in the wings. And Yosei Epinesa had the sack today on 4th down. So you got to be happy. You got to be curious about him as well, Lemansky.
He reminds me a little bit of his big brother.
Yeah, and he looks like his big brother.
He does.
Thank you, fellas. We'll talk to you on down the line.
Thank you, Lemansky. Appreciate the phone call, sir. All right. Yeah, Gary Smith. How are they going to keep Buffington off the field? Certain muses music. This season is turning into one of those interesting ones with a new QB that looked like he should be good, but we just didn't know how it would work out. Now gaining some momentum, heading home. Let's go Hawks. Thor Williams. Wisconsin hasn't scored a touchdown in 13 quarters, and he commented that about an hour ago, or a half hour ago. So I don't know if he was counting the third quarter. They have not scored in the third quarter. Their offense is unbelievably bad. David, and they don't create defensive scores like Iowa's offenses between 21 and 23 did. David, way to go, Hawks. Dave Fay from Iowa City. Welcome, Dave. And Dana says, can the Hawkeyes shock the Ducks in a couple of weeks? I think there's a chance. And Don, I think you and I both think there's a chance. We'll dive into this matchup more in the coming days. Holy cow. Hunter Simmons, the Badger quarterback, Don, is 1 of 9. 1 completion. Oh, my goodness. Make that 1 of 10. And nearly just threw a pick. He is 1 of 10 for 12 yards. Wow.
Yeah.
Easy Cheese over on X. Thank you for being here. Says the Oregon game is the biggest one since blank. Biggest game since when, Don?
Oh, well, that's a toughie. I think it depends a lot on what happens next weekend. Does Oregon have a game next weekend?
I'm guessing they do. Let's look that up. Let's see. Oregon plays. No, they do not. They do not, Don. Oh, my goodness.
So we got the extra time, but so do they.
So do they. Now, they play a little later today than we did, Don. So, hey, they got to travel. They got to travel to Iowa City. So there's.
But it's not next weekend either. So they got plenty of time to rest up for that huge ordeal of travel.
Eric says Wetjen has 2 kick returns and 2 punt return touchdowns. So those are pretty impressive, Don.
I agree. I like him.
VMS says the dude was hovering above Kenneth Merriweather talking trash. Okay, so that gives. Are we excusing the? Are we are we excusing the sack shot? Is that what we're doing? Is that what we're gonna do here, Don?
Apparently.
I don't understand that. I mean, yeah, he was talking trash. It's football. That's gonna happen.
Let me just say this. You should tell your children the same thing. It is not a good argument to say he started it. That's not a good argument.
He started it. Because what does the parent have the right to say, Don? If the child says, well, he started it, what does the parent have the right to say?
It doesn't matter.
Well, I'm going to end it, right?
Oh, yeah, good point.
You've heard that one, Don. You ever use that on your daughter?
No, I don't think so.
Well, she didn't have siblings, right?
She did not.
So she couldn't say someone else started it unless it was a friend. But
the advice I gave to Brooke sometimes, I would remind her sometimes as a young child, she would ask that question, why? My response sometimes was, because you're the child and I'm the dad. That's why.
They call him Daddy Don for a reason, right? Right, Don?
I think she would say I gave her good advice and counsel when she was a young child.
I'm sure you did. DC Hawkeye, thank you, DC Hawkeye, for the super chat. Very much appreciate that. Hi, Corey and Coach. Any insight into the scrimmage that was held versus Texas Tech yesterday? Great win today. So he's referring to the men's basketball scrimmage. And the only thing I can tell you on that is there was a number thrown out there to me earlier today. And keep in mind, you DC Hawkeye, because you follow the men's team, you probably know this from it's been talked about. But Coach McCollum, and we'll address this even though it's a football show because we appreciate the super chat. But Coach McCollum does not approach the scrimmages the same way as other coaches, even Fran does. He really lets his players problem solve during these games. And they're able to kind of tinker with different things during the game. So I don't really think they're too hyper fixated on the score. It was pretty widely publicized, Don, that they lost to St. Louis here a couple weeks ago. And I was told that they did lose to Texas Tech here this week. 83-73 was the score that was thrown out there, DC Hawkeye. 83-73. I think what's more important is what did the segments look like? What were they able to work through? And from that perspective, the secret scrimmages, we're probably not going to learn a lot from even these secret scrimmage score releases or whatever you want to call those under Ben McCollum's leadership, just because of how he coaches through that, Don. And I know you're not a basketball coach, but would you, I kind of feel like you would approach a secret scrimmage, an exhibition, the same way. If Iowa football had secret scrimmages, which they do, they scrimmage one another. It's not going to look like a game would necessarily in all facets, and you're probably not real concerned about the final score so much as being able to work through situations, correct?
Correct. I know I heard Coach McCollum mention, I can't remember who the team was, but somebody in their league, or it was on their schedule, whatever. It was one of these practice games, if you will. And he said, we lost to them because I wasn't concerned about the score. And they went on to have a 500 season, and we went deep in the playoffs, or we won the championship.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. I'm disappointed that the score even gets out because it really shouldn't count for anything. It's not about the score. It's about learning as you go.
Yeah, it is. And DC Hawkeye, thank you so much again for that donation, that super chat. It was a great win today, and I'm just happy to be able to talk hoops very soon. We've got we'll be recording our show with Kasheen Alexander because we got women's hoops around the corner, and it's a fun time. 4th and 7, Wisconsin down 14-0. Their quarterback Hunter Simmons is now 1 for 12 through the air. Just an unbelievable display. Now it's bad weather, but that's really bad. Again, DC Hawkeye, thank you. Erica says, awesome win today. Beating that used car salesman never gets old. May I please have a Hayden Fry story to celebrate today's win? So, Don, you're going to have to think of one, either Floyd of Rosedale or do you have a Hayden Fry Pac-12 story since they got.
Let me take you way back in time because it relates to Minnesota. And I believe it was year 1. Now, maybe I'm wrong about the year, but I do recall for sure it was in the Twin Cities. We were playing on the road. We beat Minnesota in the Dome where we played back then. And lo and behold, John Hayden Fry shows up at the press conference wearing overalls and a straw hat. You remember that?
I do remember hearing about that. I wasn't, but
I don't know if it was year 1 or year 2, but it was early. It was either 79 or 80, I do believe. I know it was 79 or 80. At least I'm 99% sure it was one of those 2 years. And, of course, there was a sports writer up there. Sid Hartman was his name. And he always looked down his nose at Iowa. And we were just a bunch of hicks from Iowa. And that's the reason Hayden dressed appropriately for that press conference afterward. Coach Fry always had a sense of humor. That's an example of him showing it.
It's not something Kirk would ever do.
No.
Kirk could just call all 3 timeouts at the end of a game and say, we figured we'd leave the timeouts here and take Floyd home.
Yeah.
That's the Kirk type of thing. Erica, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your support. Okay. There's a couple other comments in the chat. Last call on the phone line, folks. If anybody has a call or question for Coach Patterson before we log off, you certainly can try to get that through here, and we'll address it. I see Brad here. How about this? Greetings from Copenhagen, Denmark. What a game. It's nice to not have to stress for 3 hours for once. And Don, it's nice to hear from our friends overseas, isn't it?
Absolutely. I agree with you, Brad.
Yeah.
It's nice to have some stress-free games every now and again.
Bob Smith, again, greetings back home to you in Denmark. Bob Smith, they're playing with a much better rhythm. Copper Stacker. Hawkeyes crushed Oregon in the Rose Bowl. They will do it again. What is this? Larry, okay, here we go. This is going to be a question I just give to you, Don. Larry Waltman. Corey. Now Larry's going to lecture me, Don. Corey. Most coaches, football or basketball, leave starters in when the game seems well in control, risking injury to starters. Kirk is not alone. Most coaches do this. Really? Interesting. That's it. Don, you care to respond?
I'm curious where Larry coaches.
I have no idea, but Don, is this true? Do most coaches leave? Would most coaches leave your star quarterback in the game up 31 in the fourth quarter?
No.
Okay. Well,
I think if he was addressing that as it relates to the NFL, there's some truth involved, but that's all about contracts again. There isn't to pull a guy because he knows if I end up with 1,000 yards receiving, I get a bonus of $200,000 or whatnot. So I think the NFL is more likely to leave guys in and tempt fate than a college coach. I'll put it this way. You won't do that after you lose a key player long after the game was settled. And sadly for you, you're going to look foolish that he's even out there.
Nathan says if a loser, a geek, and a nerd had a baby, it would be a dweeb.
Somebody has to be an expert on dweebs.
And Steve says scrawny kid or nerd-like kid, I believe. Okay, well. Copper Stacker says a dweeb is a person regarded as socially inept or foolish, often on account of being overly studious. Huh. Interesting.
It comes right out of Webster's dictionary.
So this one, I really like this one. I tell you, we've got a helper here. In tribute to this comment from Nathan, I know he's not the one that called me a dweeb, but if I'm a nerd and a geek, how about we do this, Don? Should we do this?
There you go. Now you look like
I'm wearing these the rest of the show, Don. In tribute
you
to
look like an accountant, maybe.
Huh?
An accountant.
An accountant, yeah. In tribute to the guy who called me a dweeb. And if you're listening on audio, you'll have to go over to YouTube and see what I'm doing here. But I'm going to leave these on for the rest of the show, just in tribute to our friend in the chat. Okay, let's see here. I see T. Hank says Mark Rogers loves PJ. That's true. Mark Rogers does love PJ. And Gamer Zone 55. Corey? Do you think Iowa beats Oregon? Too early for me to give a prediction, but they definitely have a shot in Kinnick. And I've been saying that since day one, Don. Playing Penn State and Oregon in Kinnick, it gives you a shot. It absolutely gives you a shot. Ryan is calling his shot 13-10 Iowa.
I'm just going to make this point, Corey. Indiana proved again today. I thought UCLA was a dangerous team, even playing in Bloomington. Well, Indiana wasn't going to have any part of that. So my point is, only one team has really taken Indiana to task, and that's Iowa in Kinnick Stadium. Oregon's going to be aware of that. Let's not forget that one reason Indiana won at Oregon is because they were exposed to Kinnick before they went to Oregon. So Oregon will have to deal with it. Is Oregon, where have they been on the road that's a real test? Has there been a game yet on the road for Oregon that was a real test?
Penn State.
Penn State, that's a good point. But even then, that was a game that could have gone either way, right? So it's not like Oregon blew them away.
Yeah, but it was a whiteout.
Oh, yeah. But you're right. They survived against Penn State, right?
Yeah.
It's not hard to imagine they're going to have to survive against Iowa, too.
Yeah. So Ryan points out if it's an 11 a.m. kick for big noon kickoff, that could mess with the it's the time zone, right? It's 9 a.m. Pacific time.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Ryan, because I made the comment to Lisa. I said, I'm concerned about UCLA because it's an 11 o'clock kick, our time. And, of course, that's 9 o'clock in Los Angeles. And maybe that's why they started slowly. Today it was an early kick on the West Coast.
Right.
Being played in Indiana, obviously.
Right. Yeah, and so far, by the way, I didn't give that update on Dante Moore. I apologize. What I just read is that he was reportedly appeared to be bleeding around his nose and left the field and went into the medical tent. Based on what I'm seeing, he is not returned. Thomas is in the game at quarterback right now for the Ducks. That would be Brock Thomas, who has only, heading into today, has only thrown, I believe, 9 passes. So right now it's 14-0 Oregon, and it's pouring down rain. I mean, it's a very – so, I mean, let's not overreact to Wisconsin kind of hanging around here because, you know, it's unlikely that it's going to be pouring down rain against Iowa and Kinnick. You never know, but it's unlikely.
That brings up a good point, Corey. Somebody made the comment, we need to hope for rainy conditions when Oregon comes to town. My response was, I think Oregon's more used to playing in the rain than we are. I think we should hope for it to be cold and dry.
Why?
Because that advantage falls to Iowa.
Why is cold and dry good?
I think we're more prepared for adverse conditions, talking about cold weather, than Oregon.
But why is dry good for Iowa?
Because they're used to playing when it's wet.
What do you mean they're used to playing when it's wet? What does that mean?
There are more wet conditions in the Pacific Northwest than there is in the Midwest.
Eugene is not that rainy, Don.
I'm no expert on Eugene. I just know Pacific Northwest has a hell of a lot more rainfall than Iowa City.
Okay, that's fair. They did play a lot at Wazoo and at Washington. That's true. That is true. And they played in the Pac-12 for a long time, although the players there didn't. You know, they are playing. You know, this is a rainy game, that's for certain. I just think Iowa's got a shot regardless. I would love for it to be, Don. I would love for it to be a night game, but it's been said that it can't be. They've hit their quota or whatever. I think it'd be a great night game, and I don't want to be up until 2:00 in the morning again, being a dweeb. But the reality is, I think that favors Iowa. I think when you get the striped stadium or the blackout, there is something to be said, Don. Players seem to play better when they're wearing alternate uniforms and everybody's got the. I mean, there is something to be said for it, isn't it? Let's not forget Ohio State alternate uniforms. It felt very similar today with the All Blacks. They come out and look very similar to 2017 Ohio State in that first half.
So what do we wear for Oregon?
I don't know. What do they wear for Oregon?
Is it another blackout? Maybe.
I would love for it to be, but it won't. I don't think there is anything on the schedule for Oregon. I'd have to look back. Ryan wants to know how I celebrated the 9-7 victory over Michigan in 1981. Yeah, 1981. So that was about 15 years before I was born. So yeah, I know that's tongue-in-cheek comment. Let's see here. Ron says, sink the boat, sink the boat, sink the boat. And Lomansky says, wondering why the AD wrote a letter in support of Fickle. Could it be the department can't afford to show him the exit door? Home attendance is falling. VMS wants to know when the pink locker room was introduced.
1979, year one.
So there was no pink locker room in Denton, was there?
No.
Okay.
I don't remember a pink locker room in Denton. If there was, I never heard about it.
Yeah. Okay. Pete wants to know if he says a lot of different things, a lot of different plays today. Nice to see. Were we saving them all for the second half of the season?
Well, there are times when you have something ready to go, except the game gets out of hand in your favor, and you simply hold it back. No reason to show it. Pull it out and use it when the game is still in doubt. And with a little bit of luck, we had a player or two today that we could have used and chose not to.
Yeah, Benjamin says, I look like Clark Kent. And YouTube Sucks says, a dweeb is PJ Fleck. And VMS says, you can't be a nerd if you don't know what VMS is. I don't know what VMS is. Is it related to VHS?
I don't know what it is either.
All right, let's go back to our phone line. Thank you for calling our Iowa Smokehouse phone line. Coach Don Patterson here on the postgame show. Who's on the line?
Sorry.
Hey,
Coach, this
John.
is John.
John.
Hi, John.
Hi, Coach. According to the Weather Channel, next Saturday, the high is going to be 58 degrees.
We're 2 weeks away.
Oh, crap. I never thought about that. I was thinking next Saturday.
Yeah, there are some services that'll go out 2 weeks. I think Weather Channel goes out 2 weeks, but it's obviously not going to be real accurate.
Well, this was a 10-day forecast.
Okay, they do 10 days. Okay. Yeah.
So what? Hypothetically, let's say if it's 58 degrees, and it's a 11 o'clock kick, it could be considerably cooler than what the high is going to be, couldn't it?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about that, Don, not to return back to the Ohio State game in 2017, but didn't it feel like that, even though I know Minnesota's not Ohio State of 2017, but didn't that first half feel that way? It was where just Iowa could do no wrong in any phase.
Yeah, just snowballed on Minnesota.
And I was thinking Iowa, Ohio State 2017, that was on November 4th. So we're only about a week difference. It was almost 8 years to the day that Iowa did this. So maybe, let's see, in 2 weeks, it will be November 8th. So maybe they'll get some more Kinnick success against the Ducks. There's some parallels there, but hopefully they didn't use it all up today.
Coach, I asked Corey this up at Iowa City. I'd be interested in your opinion. Tim Lester seems like the kind of coach that would put his arm around you and say, let's get this done, and I know you can do it, whereas Seth Wallace seems more like a drill sergeant. Is there a big difference in their coaching style between Tim Lester and Seth Wallace?
Oh, a big difference. Everybody's different, I'll say that. And I think most coaches would tell you, you need to be who you are. Now, that doesn't mean you can't adjust here and there. But let me just talk about Tim, since you brought him up. I think Tim has the right approach. I know Coach Fry used to always remind us, you build them up, you don't tear them down. So for God's sakes, give them encouragement, give them advice and counsel, correct their mistakes, of course, hold them accountable, but for God's sakes, encourage them and let them know that you believe in them. And at that point, you have the best chance to get maximum effect out of your coaching. So I like the way Tim coaches. He's very positive, very upbeat. When he talks to him, he obviously knows what he's talking about, and that gives him a chance to be a very effective teacher.
Well, to me, Tim Lester and Ben McCollum share the same coaching style. They both seem like they could really get a lot out of the individual.
I agree.
Okay. Well, thank you, guys.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it, as always. Yeah, John's been making out to our in-person shows, which has been really cool. And folks, there'll be more opportunities for that. So be sure you come out. Let's see here. Just seeing if there's anything else in the chat. Okay. So Erica, thank you so much for that super chat. She adds this one. Ski you nah. Ski you nah. Or ski you nah, whatever. Yeah. CJ says, if Iowa is ranked, would you want game day? No, I don't want game day at all. I don't care. It's going to be big noon kickoff most likely, so it won't be game day. But I think it's probably going to be big noon kickoff without really dissecting the lineup of Big Ten games that week, Don. I guess we could do that.
A bigger game in terms of ranking, a bigger game than ours, certainly.
You said there will or there won't?
There will be.
Oh.
I'm talking about nationwide.
Well, but you got to realize big noon kickoff is Fox, so.
I know. I'm just saying it's not going to be ESPN game day.
Well, an ESPN game day my point is they are going to be biased. They're not doing a ton of Big Ten games in general because Fox is taking those big games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
it would have to be a huge showdown, such as maybe if Michigan, Ohio State, neither one loses, then they'll be in Ann Arbor for that probably.
Just to give you an idea, you've got Northwestern USC that week on Friday, and then on Saturday, no times have been set, but Ohio State plays Purdue. You know, Ohio State draws huge crowds, but it's Purdue. Indiana plays Penn State. That's a big game, but Penn State is not what we expected. That's still a big game because that game is
at Penn State, right?
Yeah, it's at Penn State. And then Maryland-Rutgers is a rivalry that no one cares about.
Right.
And Nebraska-UCLA is two teams that know how to find ways to lose, although UCLA had been winning until today. And then Washington-Wisconsin. Washington's probably going to be ranked, but that won't be a big game because of Wisconsin. And, yeah, so I think Iowa-Oregon will probably be big noon kickoff. CJ says, I was one on Twitter asking about coaches. I got home super late, and I'm still a bit sick. I just need another question again, CJ. I don't remember your question. I'm happy to answer your question, but please type it out here because I just don't remember what your question is. I apologize. James says, did you see Olante Dean getting carries in pregame? And James was on here on the phone line waiting to hop on, and now he's gone. Let's see. James sent a video about Cohen's hit. So we'll show that. But no, why would freshman DB Olante Dean be getting carries in pregames? He's switching to RB. Pete wants to know if there's a coaching change coming at Wisconsin. I think absolutely, but they also just endorsed Fickle in the last week.
I had heard if they wait until December 1st, they'll save quite a bit of money.
Yeah. Jordan says, has Iowa ever played Oregon? And has Oregon ever been to Kinnick? Don, do you know the answer to that?
You know, I think years ago they were. We played Oregon. I'm pretty sure it was home and home.
Yeah, so Oregon is 2-1 against Iowa. You guys played them in '94 out in Eugene, and you got beat badly.
They were a good team. They ended up being the Pac-10 or Pac-12 champion.
40-18, and then they also in 1989 came to Iowa City and beat you guys badly. 44-6. Don, what happened in '89?
Well, we had a down year. We lost some good coaches, as you know. We lost Bill Snyder. We lost Barry Alvarez, Dan McCarney about the same time. Murray Wyatt.
Oregon did come to Iowa City and lose in '49, so Oregon owns the all-time series 2-1. And YouTube sucks. Is Don using any AI for analytics? I know the answer to that question.
No.
He is not. Don is pen and paper. Lemansky, thank you for being a super chat or a premium member and for the super chat. Hayden often referred to players as youngsters. Loved that reference.
I have a smile on my face because I do recall him using that term quite often. You're right.
Thank you, Lemansky, for that super chat. Sam, thank you for reminding everybody hit that like button. Let's get James back in here on our Iowa Smokehouse line. James, explain yourself. Olante
Elliot Clough posted, and I sent it to you in X. It's like the third one up because I sent you a couple other things. But I sent you in X. He said that Olante Dean was taking reps with running backs in pregame. It's the third message I sent you on X up because the one is the cone hit. That's not a very good video. Other one's a message you can just read later. And then there's the one with Elliot Clough where it says Olante Dean was taking reps with the running backs in pregame.
And he was a good recruit out of the eastern side of the states. What was he, Pennsylvania or
Florida? He's from Florida. No, he's from Florida. Olante Dean's from Florida.
Oh, I'm thinking of CJ Bell. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I didn't know. I just seen that and didn't know.
Yeah.
No,
that's interesting.
I know he played a game, obviously, and the game's more important, but I just seen that and thought I didn't know if you knew. So
big noon kickoff for Sam. He says big noon kickoff most likely. Yeah, Don, I mean, position changes can happen during the season, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's what's happened, or maybe they're just working him in there and seeing how he does. He's not probably going to sniff the field at corner this year, so maybe just some experimentation.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, I just didn't know if you knew, and then I seen you question this. That's why I got on to say at least I seen it from another beat writer who reported it. That's the only reason I know because I wasn't at the game. That's the only reason I know because I seen somebody on Twitter post it. So
yeah, and via VGS Hawk says Casper family going to have a hard time in 2 weeks. And can I just share, because James sent this to us? So
It's not a very good video, but I found the video, and the later you go into it, it's like a minute-long video. The later
Well,
you go into it, the second part is a better look at the hit.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share the screen, Don, because I know, James went to the trouble of sending this to me. So let's go ahead and share it. Let me see, Don. You wanted to see it, right?
I wouldn't mind seeing it.
So here's the hit, right? Let's see if we can get some playback here. Okay. So here's
the wide view.
Here's the hit by Cohen Entringer earlier.
He's in the back.
Okay, so let's get another view there. They'll show this again, Don. Get rid of that. Okay. Let's get the official off the screen.
No, it will show. It takes a second.
I better not get demonetized for this, James.
If you do, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to. He wanted to see.
Well,
it,
if you do, I'm just gonna. Hey, if we do, I'll just cut it out of the video. But hopefully, I don't get demonetized.
I was just trying to show Don it because he wanted to see it. So.
Yeah. Let's see if we can. Can we get a bigger view? Can we? Okay.
Yeah, right here.
My guess is Cohen's eyes went to number 15 because he thought number 15 was getting the ball. Having said that, it still looks like a malicious hit. They would have been within their right, certainly, to charge him with targeting.
Okay. So you see what I mean when I say launched upward.
Yep, I agree.
He launched right there. Boom. He's off the ground. That's above the head, shoulder, neck area, isn't it?
That's why I wish somewhere in there they used the word malicious, because that appears to be a malicious hit, right?
Well, that's what I thought, but everybody told me I was crazy, so
We're
Anyway.
lucky they didn't call that on us.
No,
Thank
yeah,
you,
that's all I had. I just sent it to you guys because I know Don wanted to see it. I'll get off here.
Yeah, I
All
hadn't seen that copy, so that's good to see.
Appreciate him calling in and providing that, sending that. All right, Don. Let's we'll log off here, get some football watching in this evening. It's not often we get to do that. It seems like every week we have a show until late. So let's enjoy the time where we can watch some college football, Don. Our player of the game, our RTI Threads player of the game was, of course, Kaden Wetjen, and our big play of the day, our Big Grove big play of the day was Zach Lutmer, his 34-yard touchdown off of an interception in that first quarter that put him up 16, eventually 17-0. And, that really put the nail in the coffin early.
Corey, let me say this about next week, realizing we don't have a game. I'm certainly on board. I think the off week before we did a show to comment about the games that were played, as I recall, and then to introduce, of course, the next opponent for the following week.
Yeah,
I'd certainly be up for that, and yet it won't bother me. You're the guy in charge. If you want to do it Saturday night, the only argument against doing it on Saturday night, we certainly don't want to wait until after the last game's played, right? Because who knows what time that might be. But another option would be, if you so desire, maybe Sunday night or maybe Saturday, just to talk about the games that are played 11 o'clock and 2:30, and leave out the night games. That's okay too. Whatever you think is best. But I'm certainly more than happy to do a show commenting on all the games played next weekend, not to mention the prep for a very important game against Oregon the week after.
We absolutely will set something up there. And Pete says, in case you get demonetized due to the video, great show, go Hawks. Thank you, Pete, for that donation. Very much appreciate that. We'll figure something out, Don. I saw the question from VMS about postgame for Thursday. Yes, women's basketball exhibition. Postgame coming Thursday. So that will be happening. So stay tuned for basketball postgame It's back. And again, thank you, Pete, for that super chat. This question CJ wanted us to answer, and I promised him I would. He says if you could name some coaching candidates you'd want to see, like a G5 coach, coaches like Mark Stoops, Chris Kleiman have struggled a bit. So he's talking about a potential replacement if Kirk were to retire tomorrow, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, Brett Bielema is always, I have a lot of admiration for Brett. I mean, every week is different, right? People are a little down because they went out and probably lost out on the playoff tonight, Don. I mean, if they beaten Wisconsin, had they beat Washington today, they would have had a clear path to the playoff because their schedule is cake. Doesn't mean they couldn't lose somewhere, but their schedule is extremely favorable. But they lost, and so now they've got 3 losses. They're done.
Right, and it wasn't even a quality loss, right? What was the final? 45-24 or something?
Yeah, they gave up a lot of points. Final today.
You know, that's one small thing in our favor, Corey. We do have 2 losses, but by the nearest margins.
They got to beat Oregon. Got to beat Oregon. But, 42-25 was the Washington over Illinois score. So they're done. But I still like Brett. I know that's not a real, innovative idea.
Right.
But I like Brett a lot. And then as far as like a G5 coach, I'm not as knowledgeable.
I'll tell you a guy I like that you're very familiar with, Pat Fitzgerald.
Well, yeah, that's an obvious one. I think Pat's going to have an opportunity to coach several places this cycle if he wants, and maybe he doesn't want to. But he would be somebody. Yeah.
If I was in Madison, that would be my first phone call.
Right. I even said Penn State would be stupid not to reach out.
I agree.
I think he probably fits better at Wisconsin. After that, Tim Lester's got to be on the list if he can continue to keep the offense moving forward, Don, right?
Well, we still have a long way to go because we're still not an offense that strikes fear into the hearts of our opponents. We're not in that category yet. But maybe we can continue to make strides in that direction. We need to.
Yeah, so after those guys, I'm trying to think of the G5 programs. I don't know some of those head coaches very well, Don. I know that coach down at North Texas, they threw for over 600 yards last night in a game on the road at Charlotte with a young QB. So, I mean, I'd be looking at their offense has been really good for a long time. So, they're a ascending program. Memphis' head coach. I'm thinking of the best G5 programs. There's a bunch in the AAC, Memphis, Tulane, South Florida. South Florida is probably one you got to look at, whoever that head coach is. Who's South Florida's head coach, Don?
Can't even remember.
Head coach at Florida is Alex Golesh.
I don't know much about him.
Yeah, I recognize him. I mean, I've seen him on the sidelines, but
yeah,
I don't know. I wish I had a better answer for you, but certainly, yeah, Brett is still on my list. Probably, I still think Phil deserves a shot if he wants it. I don't think he probably does, but he deserves an opportunity. And then I'd still call Bobby, and I would probably see if Pat Fitzgerald's on the market, and if Tim, we'll see what Tim does here the rest of the year. LeVar Woods, I see Pete in the chat. LeVar Woods, I don't know. I mean, he hasn't called plays. He's not, but neither had Kirk. So he's not at the top of my list, but he would be for some. Maybe Seth Wallace is on the top of some people's lists. He was the interim coach when Kirk was suspended last year. So hopefully we walk through that well enough for you, CJ. Again, Big Grove's big play of the day, Zach Lutmer's 34-yard return for a touchdown off an interception. And RTI Threads player of the game was Kaden Wetjen. We appreciate Iowa Smokehouse for being with us, sponsoring our phone line. Big Grove Brewery. Man, so many great locations there. Easy Eddie, their Citrus Surfer, their neighborhood beer. It's all delicious. Great ways to celebrate the game and watch the game. Official watch party headquarters of the Hawkeyes. Also, Brad Van Meter and his team at State Farm, saving people great amounts of money on insurance of so many different types, varieties. Iowa floor covering, Farms of America, that great program. If you haven't seen that, definitely check it out. It is a pleasure to be a part of that cause. Really cool stuff. And Yeah, we're going to be back. We'll be back in 2 weeks talking Iowa, Oregon, hopefully talking about a big win, but we will also preview that game in the coming days. Update on Oregon, Wisconsin. It's now 21-0 Oregon over Wisconsin. And it is one of 2 Big Ten games still going on. Michigan leading Michigan State 17-7 third quarter. Quick score update around the country. Miami recovered from a 7-0 deficit early. They're on the verge of closing out Stanford. It's 35-7 late in the fourth quarter. Texas A&M in a close battle. That's the game of the night right now. The third-ranked Aggies 21-18 lead over the 20th-ranked LSU Tigers. That game is over on ABC if you're curious. Also, number 19, Louisville leading Boston College 27-17 over on the ACC network. Mark Stoops' team 2-4, and they're on the verge of being 0-5 in the league, down 35-21 at halftime over on the SEC network to Tennessee. And how about an upset in the Big 12? Number 24, Arizona State, trailing 6-1, but unranked Houston, 17-0 in the third quarter. Also still to come tonight, Colorado and Utah. That game has not yet kicked. So there you have it, Don. The Hawkeyes defeating Minnesota. Floyd stays home. The Piggy is going to be safe in Iowa City for yet another year, and Iowa fans have reason to celebrate heading into a bye.
There's a good name of another coach to add. Our guy from Louisville.
Jeff Brom. I don't know. Could Iowa fans forgive him? Could they forgive him for all
I know he's one of the best play callers I've ever known.
Yeah, he is. Paul in the chat says he wasn't expecting this post game to still be going on. Well, Paul, you obviously don't watch us enough because you should never be surprised when you take a nap or go somewhere and come back and we're still live. For Coach Don Patterson, Matt Kroll, former Hawkeye, Matt Kroll, and our great sponsors, we appreciate everybody for being here, and we will talk to you in the coming days. Stay tuned right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm on YouTube for the best Hawkeye coverage out there. Have a great night.